We gotta go live now, even though Nick has just arrived and he's just getting ready. This is just too damn cute. Look at
Mm-hmm.
this. This is cute.
Hi, Shepherd.
Oh my god. Once again, I look at that picture and think to myself, one of these days, I want to be loved by a man the way that cat loves you.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I mean, all you got to do is just save him, has a baby from a life on the streets.
Right, and then feed him every day and
Yeah.
clean up after him
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
let him do whatever he
Clean,
wants anytime.
clean his poop, overfeed him.
Right, exactly. Oh, Shepherd, you are the luckiest cat in the world, really.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, your life could have been so much worse.
Honestly, for a
Mhm.
cat that like I found in a bush, uh, he's really chill. Like
He's
there's so many horror stories of cats that are like, um, oh yeah, they hiss at their owner. Oh, their owner's like, oh yeah, my cat scratches me all the
oh,
time.
yeah, he's like semi-feral cats. Yeah, he
Yeah,
was not a semi-feral cat.
no, like
Yeah. He
it's
domesticated right up real fast.
yeah.
Yeah. Ah, so we're waiting. Hey, we got 2 people in the chat room. I should look at the comments. Who is here? Uh, looks like 2 people from YouTube. I
Oh
wonder if
wait,
one of them's Stacey Ray.
do we
It's gonna
see
be a race
YouTube?
to see who's the first person to make the first comment. Who's the winner this week?
Yeah.
Let's see. So what else? Nick and I went to an Edgar Allan Poe speakeasy.
Yes.
Um,
I have some news for you that you will not like. I very much cannot help you convince Chris to watch The Glory
why?
because I think it's kind of boring.
Oh, really?
I uh, I
How
watched
many
3.
episodes did you watch?
I can't remember if I finished the third one. I think I'm halfway through episode 3.
Okay, this is the one about the girl who was bullied, burned,
Yes.
bullied.
Here's my problem. The first episode is all about her getting bullied.
Right.
And it's like, oh wow, the first time it happens and like all the authority figures don't help her. It's like, oh wow, this is terrible. Fuck these kids. I
Mhm.
want to see these kids suffer.
Mhm.
Another scene of her getting bullied, no one helping her. It's like, yeah, this really sucks.
Yeah, no,
Another scene,
it's
another
graphic
scene.
bully scenes. I actually fast
Un-
forwarded through so
and,
much of that because
and
I
that's
found
what I
it so
did.
disturbing.
I did that too. I skipped like the last 15 minutes of the episode, but it wasn't because like, oh, this is so hard to watch. It's because like I get it.
Right,
I'm on your side.
right.
I'm on your side. Let's fuck up these kids, and then you just keep showing it. I'm like, oh my god, move on,
Yeah.
move. Let's get
Well,
this
you have
movie.
to remember that this is Korean television, so they draw things out because they need to go to like 21 episodes.
And then the next two episodes.
That's an advertising requirement is to be
Yes.
like 21 to 24 episodes.
Well, this one's like 16.
Yeah, this is right.
Um,
Exactly.
but the next two episodes, and maybe this is on me, but like the premise: girl that is bullied in high school, years later gets revenge on those classmates.
Mhm.
Classic Count of Monte Cristo premise. Classic revenge, like the melodrama on ABC years ago called Revenge. It was like Count of Monte Cristo,
Mhm.
where girl poses has a friend or becomes a friend with her bullies, inserts herself into their life under false pretenses in order to get closer to them.
Mhm.
But that's not what's happening. Instead, it's she's staking them out and watching and watching and watching. And for 2 hours, I watched this person watch these other people who I don't give a shit about. I'm like, yeah, no, I want these people to fucking suffer. But instead, you're showing me, oh, my daughter's colorblind and this other guy was colorblind. But I'm like, I'm not sure. Does that mean they had an affair or is that like the guy's kid? I also, why do I give a shit about these people's family lives? I'm here to watch them suffer. I'm here to watch them die. And instead, you're just like showing me all this slow moving melodrama. Like it even gets into like the main character hires some older lady to then stake it out. So not only are we watching her watch people, but I'm watching her hire someone else to watch the people that she's. And after 2 hours, I was just like, nothing happened. 3 hours in, and nothing of significance has happened. There's no tension. There's like no excitement because, like, I don't know what any of her plan is. She spends a significant portion of these episodes learning how to play Go because for some reason beating this guy in Go is part of her plan.
You don't recognize who the guy is?
I know that he's one of the people that bullied her, but why?
No, he's not one of the people that bullied her.
No, not the guy that taught her Go. The guy
No.
she wants to beat.
Right, that's not one of the people that bullied her.
Oh, it's not?
That is the husband of the head girl, the worst of the girl, the
Oh,
leader
okay.
of
Well,
the bullies.
still, it's
That is
someone.
her husband.
It's still someone in her like line of sights. But like,
She's
why?
she is right. Oh,
Why does beating him in Go
because
matter?
that's the thing. You watch this very slowly and you're not sure what she's going to do, but you know that
No,
she is going to do whatever it takes to ruin these people, and it's going to be extreme. And when she unleashes fury, it is like an over the top. And you didn't see the connections that she made in her head
but like
until
that's.
they
But I
happen.
don't. But I don't think that's compelling. If I
Uh,
can't see the connections being made, what is there to keep me attached as a viewer?
AC Ray says, is Nick, the guy who has ruined multiple nights of Edie with bad recommendations, criticizing our high culture cinema.
So, okay, I have not ruined multiple your nights with bad recommendations because you never take my recommendations.
That's not
You
true. I've done that, and it's been like, that's terrible, Nick.
okay? Um, um, lava show aside,
Lava. The floor is lava.
yes.
Okay. Lava
Okay, he
show
says
is
it's an inroad to her enemy's spouse. What more do you need? I need like a
why?
structure, not just why, but
You've
like
seen a lot. You just haven't made the connections. You have
I
seen a
need
lot.
I
You
need
haven't
there to be
made the connections.
the reason why I think this is like kind of poorly told is because yes, logically, oh, it's an inroad to her enemy spouse. Sure, you can see that happening, but there is no tension involved. There's no risk, there's no excitement, there's nothing thrilling, there's nothing dangerous about what she's doing. And so as a viewer, coming into what was pitched has like you're quoting
Well,
you
this
this
is the thing,
extreme
is that
dramatic apocalyptic level revenge story, and I'm like watching this lady sit in a fucking car for an hour, and I'm like this is not what I signed up for.
I'm sorry you're not seeing it. Yeah, I really enjoyed. I did find there not necessarily risk to say, because she's not at the place where she is going to, she's not made her first step. She is setting up the dominoes. And I enjoyed watching her very carefully place every single one of those dominoes, and she's placing them
Yeah,
very, very specifically. This is a long game that she is playing, a very, very long
you
game.
can make a long game without it feeling
Feeling long. That's
long.
true. And I think that that in part is due to the fact that it is Korean, so they always have to kind of artificially draw things out. But I am really surprised that you are finding it boring, because I was absolutely riveted.
And I,
Riveted to that show from
I
the I
want
mean,
to give it.
I did
I wa-
fast forward through a lot of the, the abuse porn. Um, and they did go way over the top showing all of it, but I understood why. You needed to feel more than just, "Oh, they bullied her." You needed
yeah,
to feel like the unmitigated beating down of this
now,
person in extreme. I've watched a lot of, Korean bully stuff going on, in Netflix. This is the
yeah.
most graphic
Well,
bullying
yes,
I've ever
and
seen.
like
Korean show.
and saying oh she was bullied is like underplaying it. It's really like physical and emotional abuse.
Oh, they
And
tortured her. They
yeah,
literally tortured this girl.
and like I said, by like halfway through episode 1, I'm like, let's do this. Let's fuck up these people's lives. I am on board with
On board
this.
for this now.
And I'm like, let's fuck them up. 3
Yeah.
hours later, nothing's fucked up.
And also the first a lot of the first 3 episodes is not just showing you the revenge or the reason for the revenge. It's also getting to know each of the individual bullies, who they were in high school, and then who they later on have become, their world. And like the girl who is the super religious one, who is like she's an artist, and her parents are super religious, and she's, held up as a paragon of virtue and talent, and she is a fucked up drug addict behind the scenes. She is all kinds of messed up, and it's all a front. And it's just, and then of course you're developing the interrelationships between this group of bullies. The good looking girl who's a little bit of a reacher, that they turn on her too. And in many ways, the reason why she is the one of the worst torturers is because the girl who was tortured was a distraction for the other girls to not torture her.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're seeing a lot of the developing of the relationships of who they were in high school, why they did what they did in some cases, and who they became, and how much they have to lose, and what is going to be manipulated, because they are at heart shitty, shitty people. They were shitty kids, and they are shitty people who ended up being very successful by being shitty. And this is like, oh, it's gonna be so great. When
And I
when
and
she
I
unleashes hell, which is, like, fairly soon, like, right around the
okay,
4th or 5th episode, she
okay.
starts to unleash hell, and when it hits the end, you're like,
I was
"Oh
gonna say,
my
can you give me a
god!"
timeline for when
She doesn't want to just have revenge and destroy their lives. She wants to do what they did to her. She wants to destroy them,
yeah.
not their lives, them. She wants them all destroyed. As I mean, I don't wanna, like, wreck it, but yes, all
I mean,
of them
look, give it
destroyed.
I appreciate the timeline because I need to know like when how far should I get before I'm like, okay, this isn't working for me. I'm out. And
Um,
you said like episode 4 or 5, which is 2
4 or 5.
episodes. I could
Give
do
it
2
2
more
more episodes.
episodes.
Give it 2 more episodes, and if
I
you can't do it by 5, then I say walk away.
I do think it's interesting. AC Wraith makes an interesting point that he says much of the Korean TV I've seen looks like the slice of life genre until it builds,
Yeah,
which is
until it goes off the
an
rails.
interesting way to like put it into context of like, oh, okay, this is this will be kind of boring until it's not.
Until it's not.
So I'll give it a little bit more to try to capture me,
Just enough to
but
keep you
like
along going,
I
"Okay, where is this going?"
it's
And then
like
when it goes, you're like,
after we went to that Edgar Allan Poe speakeasy, like I came home and I was like, I want to watch something dark. And I'm like, I was gonna watch The Fall of the House of Usher again, but you convinced me to watch The Glory. And I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm gonna watch The Glory. I'm here. I'm kind of buzzed. I got another cocktail in my hand, and I'm like, let's fucking do this. Let's see some shit. And then like 3 hours later, I'm like, oh, who's that? Oh
Oh, I'm
fuck.
sorry.
So, okay,
Issa Rae says,
like I
"Have
said,
you
I'll
seen
give it a little bit
Itaewon
longer.
Class?" Itaewon Class is also
No.
very, very good.
Yeah, he says that it's a revenge show that tangents into business and love life.
Mhm.
And, David Gardner is recommending a show called Hawk Tuah Bitches.
No.
I do not know this show. Is this on Netflix?
No, ignore him.
Is this a YouTube
Ignore
show?
Goalie. Who, by the way, you did a great job. I watched, in fact, I have to
Yeah,
cancel my
I didn't
subscription
see
to
that. I was out.
that subscription service because had to buy a month of subscription in order to watch you to do announcing on the two streams that you had, the two games that you had. But yeah, he was announced for what was it, the Cyclones versus the Typhoons, something like that. He says, "I will not be ignored." Yes, you will. Watch. Ignored. Um, yeah, great job on those two games. Really, really enjoyed it. So, and nice job. And if you put the link up to the hockey stream, the hockey, the subscription service. Yeah, they're the Cyclones versus the Comets. Sorry, not the Typhoons. Cyclones versus the Comets. But put up the link for the what was it? Something sports that you had to get so that you can watch these games because goalie is preternaturally good at doing play-by-play for hockey. Unbelievable. Actually, and football too. So should we talk about actually, you know what, let's do this because we haven't done this in a while. Let's do the intro. What a crazy, crazy thought. Stand by.
This podcast discusses video games, modern culture, and technology, and these podcasters are big fat potty mouths. If you're younger than 18 or are easily offended, please stop this podcast now. Oh, and your mom says to take out the trash and do your homework.
Hello and welcome to GameHounds. GameHounds episode 728. We are recording this on Sunday, September 22nd, 2024. I'm Edie Sellers. With me, of course, is Nick DiNicola. And we are talking stuff.
We're talking
game?
stuff.
Yeah, as we always talk about stuff. So what were you doing last week?
Oh, I was in Delaware. Rachel's
Delaware. I
uncle
wasn't sure it
had
was New Hampshire or something like that.
it's
Vermont.
somewhere on the East Coast, one of those colonial
After
places.
beyond Chicago, it's all just one big blur to me anyway.
But yeah, Rachel's uncle had a 50th wedding anniversary, and they invited like bunch of family, bunch of friends, had a big old ceremony. It was like 100 people
Oh my
in
God.
this old firehouse. It was like basically, renew your vows, second wedding type of thing.
Right.
So yeah,
Nice.
went down there, spent all the time with the family. Did some tours of Pennsylvania because everything is so close. It's like an hour
Right, exactly.
away.
That's what I mean. It's like just one big blur. It's like it
Yeah.
starts after Chicago, it's just one big city.
Yeah. So we landed in Pennsylvania on a red eye in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Her dad picked us up, and then we just kind of toured and did tour stuff around Philadelphia for the day until we went back until it was time to check into the hotel.
I've never been to Philly.
It's pretty cool.
I've heard it's a
Nice.
very cool town. I mean, for East Coast town, it's actually one of the cooler ones. It's one of the ones that isn't quite so snooty.
Yeah.
Boston. I was in Boise. Boise is not an East Coast city. I was visiting my dear friend and her husband and my ex-boyfriend, the Kevin 1.0, and Kimber, my best friend, and her husband Eric, all went to high school together with Kevin, my late husband. So yeah, Kevin, Kimber, Eric. We're all friends, and I am now all friends with them. And Kimber and I are best friends. And so I went out to go see her and hang out for the weekend, and we went wine tasting. Yes, they do wine tasting in Boise. And we just had a great time. It was Pride weekend. I only got called a fucking homo once.
You're
which I think
sleeping on the job.
that's progress. It was a long-haired biker as we were crossing the street outside of the Pride celebration.
Which
And he
feels a little
started laughing.
ironic because when you say long-haired biker, I think, oh yeah, that dude's gay. Totally.
Totally gay.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, he's
Oh
awesome.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's a bear.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a bear. No, he was like an old skinny guy with a super long beard. And he just,
Mm,
he was laughing and I'm like, "Happy Pride," because he seemed like he was like behind it and he goes,
hmm.
"Yeah, fucking homo." And I'm like, okay, happy Pride anyway.
Okay.
Clearly we're happier than you right now."
Yeah.
So, I had a great time. And yeah, it was short. I was only there from Thursday night until Sunday morning. Great flight, enjoyed myself. Flew first class, which was really nice because it was only a few bucks more
Mm,
than the regular seats. It was only like $50 more. I'm like, well, I'm not go first class if it's only $50 more. And so, of course, I drank $50 worth of alcohol on the way out and back. They lost money on that flight. Oh, I got poured out of that flight. See, they'll keep serving you as long as you're not an asshole. Just don't be an asshole, and
yeah.
they will give you like I had told her the flight attendant on the way out, I'm like, she's like, "Would you like a glass of wine? You look very stressed." And I'm like, "I would this is when we're like boarding." She's like, "Would you like a glass of wine?" I'm like, "I would like many glasses of wine right now. It's been a week." She's like, "I've got you." Every time she passed by me, she filled up my glass.
Oh,
Like
nice.
I never
How
had
many
in that hour and a half flight, my glass was not full and I was not sipping.
how often do they come by? Because like all the flights I've been on to the East Coast, it's like, yeah, they come by once or twice at most, but then that's it.
In first class, every 2 minutes.
Oh wow.
Yeah, in first class. Well, also this was a small plane by comparison. It was an Embraer 175. It is so like every 2 minutes she's walking up and down, she's looking out, she can see the glasses all from the first class
Mm,
station, so she can see who's empty and who's full. And
okay.
and so she just would see my glass like that much lower than it was, and she'd just come right back down and fill it right up again. Like, good girl. Good girl. We like her. I'd give her a tip if I had any cash. So yeah, it was a good flight. Um and yeah, it was I was nice to have a week off, but I did miss everybody here. I do miss doing not when we don't do the show, I miss it.
Like, hey Siri, sniffs cork. The cheesesteak smells cheesy. And Dave, it must be real hard for you to not be an a-hole drunk.
Yep. It kind of is. There's that moment where it's like, I'm not really an asshole when I'm drunk. I'm just drunk when I'm drunk. And it's like, I need to be not quite so happy. Because if I get any more happy and my eyes get any squintier, I'm going to be outed as plastered. So it's like I have to make a point of keeping my eyes open and not like starting to giggle. Yeah, it was a good fight. So games. Was running around like crazy, in flights and did not play many games.
Oh, I've had 2 weeks to play stuff. I've played a lot.
Okay, all right. Fill me in.
Oh, I finished Black Myth Wukong. Beat it, got the secret ending.
Oh, you got
Um,
the secret ending.
the final couple bosses in that game
Mm-hmm.
are truly some of like the most satisfying boss fights I've ever played
Really?
because they're not super difficult. They're hard, but at the point that you've gotten that far into the game, you're good enough. And the bosses, like, they're not, they have very distinct patterns. So it's kind of easy to memorize their pattern set. And fighting like the final boss a couple times, I had that moment, that addictive dragon chasing moment in these games was like halfway through the fight. he attacks, I dodge, he attacks, I dodge again. And I'm like, I can do this. Like, oh, I've got your number. Oh, it's like halfway through the fight when I realize he's down halfway to health. I've only used like 1 or 2 of my health potions. It's like, I'm gonna win. I'm going
That's a
to
great
beat
feeling.
you. And it's like, I've done this multiple times. He's challenging, but it's like just that perfect amount of challenge. It's like, oh, you made me work for this. But
But not too much.
once I dialed in, I fucking got you.
Yeah. That's
And
how I
and
felt. Shadow of Mordor had the same kind of thing for
mm,
me, is that something would beat me and beat me and beat me and beat me until I would, like you say, get that guy's number. And once I did, it was like, aha, got you. I've got you, motherfucker. I know how to beat you now all the time. Let me solo him.
yeah. And what I kind of appreciate about the final boss is I went through the whole game using the immobilize spell a lot because it's super useful. It freezes an enemy in place and allows you to just get up there and wail on them. And
Mhm.
like that means not only do you get a combo win that does a lot of damage, but you get a lot of focus points, which allows you to do special moves. Like it's really, really useful.
Yeah.
You can't do that on the final boss. Or
Oh.
like not
Yeah, so
not
you've gotten
often.
kind of reliant on this thing that you can't use.
Yeah. So it forced me to like think about, okay, how do I want to rebuild my character? And what I ended up doing is I ended up using a spell that I initially thought I'm never going to use this. This is
Mm.
dumb. Uh Never going to use this. It's a
What skill was it?
spellbinder,
Okay.
which basically prevents you from using any magic attacks, but it increases your attack.
Oh, okay.
And so what I ended up doing was you have a couple spells that don't use mana. So I
Mhm.
would start the fight, use all of those powerful spells, and that would like lower the boss's health a lot. Then at full mana, I would activate the spellbinder after using all the other spells.
Uh-huh.
Um, and because I invested so much into, because what I realized is uh, the amount of mana that gets disabled is directly proportional to the increase in attack. So
Mhm.
if you you can only use the spell when you're at max mana. So you can't like use a spell and then use spellbinder.
Right.
Um, but if you increase your MP a whole lot and you use spellbinder, you get
You
more
do a
attack.
massive amount of
Yeah.
damage.
If you take out all your stats and you lower your MP as much as you can, and then you use Spellbinder, you won't get as big of a boost in attack.
Right.
So I maxed out the MP, used all the spells that don't take mana, then activated that spell. And because at that point I'm like, I got your moveset dialed in, I'm
Mhm.
wailing on him, doing a ton of damage. And it's just that satisfying moment of like, this is me and my this is like my pure martial arts against your pure martial arts, and I beat you. It's like this is the purest form of combat. No one's cheating here with magic.
That's awesome.
This is just us beating each other with sticks.
That is so great.
But yes, I think sorry, I'm so hot. I came from like a party, a kid's birthday party where it was outside. Um
Oh, yeah, it's a warm day outside,
yeah.
especially if you're in the sun.
Um
'Cause we're actually experiencing the same weather. Like, we don't
yeah.
have any weather to talk about together because, we always used to compare your weather versus my weather because we were on opposite sides of the bay. We're not on opposite sides of the bay anymore. I'm literally down the road.
Yes. But yeah, overall, Black
Black
Myth
Myth
Wukong.
Wukong.
Um, Reading like explainers of the story, gave me a much better appreciation of what it's doing. I actually think it's telling a really interesting story that's
Yeah,
like
it's a
us.
there's a reason why it's been told for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
It's a
Well,
good
no, but
story.
it's not Journey to the West. It's explicitly a sequel to Journey to the
Got it.
West
Yeah.
that like kind of shows what happens to the characters that you meet along the way after 100 years.
Mhm.
And it's kind of interesting because um what I realize, especially in like watching these kind of explainer videos, is that it's kind of a dark take on Journey to the West. It's not like the Stephen Chow fun story. It's like, yeah, let's check in on these characters hundreds of years later. Most of them are not doing well. Like, what is going on? Uh, and it's interesting to kind of see this more cynical take on the material kind of blow up as big as it did.
Mhm.
Um, but it's a cool story. It's just that perfect level of difficulty where it's challenging, but it's not brutal. And I think as of now, it's probably my game of the year.
Yeah, it's a lot of people's game of the
Yeah.
year. It's gonna be very hard to beat, and I think that bodes very badly for a lot of games that are coming out this year that are having to compete with it. They're gonna have a hard time because and it's also lots of playability because there are different endings. You can
Yeah.
go
Well,
back and get different endings.
also like the ending is, hey, you beat the boss and then you just reload the save and then instead of fighting the boss again, go defeat the secret boss. Like it's one of those you
Oh,
can
okay.
see it saves the game right before you beat the boss, and from that point, if you go back and you like do all the secret things you need to do, you can get the secret ending without having to replay the entire
Oh,
thing
okay.
again,
That's cool.
which is nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, that
Um,
game's really cool.
yeah. I'm very excited. So what else did you play? Obviously, there's more.
Yeah, one of them I'm gonna hold off talking about until we talk about some news. But in the meantime, I played this game on my phone called Retro Bowl.
Okay.
So Patrick Klepek of Remap, he has a newsletter called Crossplay that's kind of about parenting and gaming. And in I just like the guy, so I subscribed to his newsletter. And in the recent one, he talked about Retro Bowl and described it as the ultimate dad game because like it's a sports game, but it's also like really tight and self-contained. And so you
Wow,
can like,
this totally looks like a goalie game. This
so
fully looks like a goalie game.
you can do a lot in like 2 minutes.
Mhm.
What I love about this game is that it has captured the arc of what you want from like a football game uh, in a very tiny package. So the
Mhm.
way it works is there's actually no defensive play. It's all offensive play. And
Okay.
you always go from the right to the left or the left to the right. You can kind of choose which one you want.
Mhm.
Um, But so all you're doing is it's just very simple touchscreen controls. You tap a guy and you'll hand it off to him to run. And then as you're running, you have a couple abilities at your disposal to like dodge or dive. Or you can pass. And passing is like you kind of pull your thumb to the right and like aim. It's a lot like how desert golfing was, or a lot like how other golf games work. But it's very simple. Yeah, you can kind of see the dot is where the person's finger is.
Right.
And so they're kind of tapping and dragging to throw, or they tap the guy to have him run. But what's cool about it is it's very easy to play. And see
Mhm.
that was the defense right there, where when you're on the defense, it just gives you like a quick little summary. Oh, New York has it on the 40th. It's a passing play. Your defensive didn't get the tackle. But outside of the game, when you get into the management aspect of it, that's where it gets really cool. So the first season that I played, um, I didn't have a lot of money. My team isn't that good. They've got like a 1 or 2 star offense and defense, and it's like out of 5.
Mhm.
And so I stopped playing. And at first, it's like, okay, I can play. I'm a pretty good gamer. I can pass the ball with some pretty good accuracy. I can dodge these guys pretty well. So when I play against a lot of these teams, I can do pretty well. But then I start getting up against the 5 star teams. And it's like,
Mhm.
and then I just start getting my ass kicked. And the way it works is when you win a game, you get fans. Like your little fan meter fills up. When you
Yeah.
lose a game,
Oh, you broke out. Oh,
oh,
take it down at the 10-yard line. Sorry.
when you lose a game, you lose fans.
Uh-huh.
The number of fans you have determines how much money you get after each game.
Oh, interesting.
So the
So it's a
more
bit like
fans you
it's a
have,
sim. It's like a football game, but it's also like a football sim.
yes, and the sim part is where it gets cool because um yeah, in the beginning you lose a game, you lose a ton of fans. Just
Oh.
like your popularity plummets. And all of a sudden you go from earning 2 points per game, like 2 credits, to 1 credit. And that's like I can't do shit with 1 credit. I can't
Right.
buy anything. I can't do anything. So my first season, I played a bunch of games, then started getting my ass kicked. And then thankfully, you can sim a lot of games. You just hit sim this game and the computer kind of plays it for you. And at that point, I'm a 1-star team going up against 5-star teams. I know I'm going to lose. So I just hit sim, skip the game, I lost, skip the game, I lost, skip the game, I lost. End the season with like 10 fans. It's like, Jesus, this was awful. But it's a new season, which means it's a new draft. I
Mhm.
haven't hit my salary cap, so I can draft better players. And by playing it, I know like, okay, my quarterback's kind of bad. I've got this like wide receiver who's just fucking slow. I need to get a faster wide receiver. I need more receivers. I need more defense. And so I start signing all these people. And all of a sudden I go from like a 1-star team to a 3-star team. And then I was like, okay, this is better. I play through the second season. I do a lot better. I do a lot better. My fans go up. All of a sudden, I start making more money. And then I start investing in my team. If you invest in the stadium is really important because the higher your stadium is,
Right.
you get more fans when you win and you lose less fans when you lose.
Right, because they like the stadium.
So I invest a bunch into that, and that means come the inevitable second half, my team's a little better, so I don't get as has trampled, but I still lose a lot of games, but I lose less fans as a result. So third year, I go in, I start signing more people. All of a sudden, I am now a 5-star team because I've signed a lot of good people. But now I'm also like winning a lot more games. So my fans is increased. Now I'm getting 3 credits every win instead of 1 or 2. And I'm like, oh shit, I can invest in rehab facilities. I can invest in training facilities so that my guys level up faster. And when they get hurt, they're out for fewer games. I can start signing better offensive coaches and defensive coaches. And all of a sudden, I felt that Wrexham storyline, right? Of you took a team that was shitty and I invested in it. And over a period of years, and like signing better people, improving the structure and the facilities around the team, all of a sudden the team's doing a lot better. And that is so satisfying to see that arc, that slow increase of taking someone from a 1-star team to a 5-star team and realizing this team is good. Like we're doing well. Fuck yeah. All right. And then when you do play, it's very simple from a mechanics perspective, but it's just complicated enough that it's really, really fun. I have a very bad habit of throwing interceptions because I always try to aim it at the guy running, but I don't quite throw it far enough. And so
Mhm.
instead of going ahead of the runner for him to run up to it and close that distance, I throw it behind him so that the defensive lineman is like, "Oh, this is right in me." So I end up
Right.
directly throwing it to the defensive lineman. Oh wait, the video like switched to a YouTube cooking show.
Oh, sorry. Didn't see that.
But yeah, it's a very simple game, mobile, so like it's easy controls. You can play a game in 2 minutes, but it works really, really well because it captures that dynasty, right? That
Yeah,
feeling
I
of
was
taking
sorry.
a team
I was
from the
literally downloading
lowest.
it. I was
Oh yeah.
downloading it. That's why it switched because I was downloading the game. I'm like, "Oh, yes, I'm all over this game."
Yeah, it's really cool. I played it a ton on the plane
Mhm.
to Pennsylvania. And I felt a little bad because I'm playing it on my phone and every single time I like throw a ball that's really close, I'm like, "Oh, oh, oh shit."
People
And I
next
kind of
door.
I look over at the person next to me and she's like with her eyes closed, listening to an iPod. I'm like, oh, thank God.
Yep.
Okay,
By the
I
way,
didn't wake you
when
up.
I opened my app store to download this, here was the front page
Ah,
advertising on it.
yeah, and I think that is why Patrick Klepek was writing about it in the newsletter, because that version of the game is only available on Apple Arcade. But there's a
Oh,
previous version of the game that is free, or like it's free, or it's like a buck, like it's super cheap. Um,
so what were
but
you
yeah,
playing? Were you playing the Apple Arcade one? Or were
no,
you
I
playing
don't. I don't have Apple Arcade. I was playing the regular one, but they do. They do also have a soccer manager game,
Oh,
and I
really?
downloaded that one too. I haven't played it yet, but I'm like, if Retro Bowl is this much fun, then what is
Well,
it
they also
called?
have Retro Bowl College.
Yeah, I didn't download that one. Retro Goal. I'm like, if Retro Bowl is this fun, Retro Goal is gotta be pretty
Retro
awesome.
Gold, there it is. Okay, I'll get it too. Since they're both free. I'm definitely downloading them. Oop, didn't recognize my face. Come on, recognize me. There you go. All right, so I'm down for that.
Yeah. So those are
Next.
two big things.
Yeah.
And then the other one I'll talk about as we get into some news.
Okay. Yeah, and once again, I played Raid Rush. That was really the only thing I played. I tried to play something else other than that on the in the phone, but because I was on a regional jet, it did not have good
Oh,
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi. Mm,
Yeah, and it well, in order to have anything other than messaging, it was $8. And I'm like, I'm in a first class seat. They should give this to me for
right?
free.
You should.
Yeah, but they didn't, but it was a
Cheapskates.
regional company. So
Cheapskates.
when I'm on Alaska, it's a regular Alaska flight, but when it's Alaska operated by whatever the regional carrier is, then it's like not quite so much. So I didn't buy it because I didn't see the point in paying $8 for an hour and a half, especially when I was drinking most of the time anyway. So I just read a book. All right. So now that we have that, and let me, there we go. There is the Patrick Klepek thing, and there is the website for Retro Bowl if you are interested in. Um, and of course, he links Journey to the West and says any excuse to link a Stephen Chow movie.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, I did see a movie that you should see. Let's see. And I'm putting in the thing. All right. So, and this is a Quentin Tarantino movie that
Okay.
Quentin Tarantino didn't write or direct. Quentin Tarantino had nothing to do with it. But it is a fantastic, fun movie, Killer's Game.
I've heard good things about this.
It's really good. It is really,
Mm.
really good. It's almost a shame that wasn't released earlier in the summer because it is very much a classic,
Yeah, it kind of
fun
got dumped.
summer. Yeah, yeah, and it's way, way, way better than that. So the premise is, let's see, who's the guy? Man, I can't think of his name. The guy who
Bitters says no feet Tarantino. Oh, no feet, no Tarantino.
That's right, no feet, no Tarantino.
Um,
Dave
Dave
Bautista.
Bautista?
Yeah, Dave
Yeah.
Bautista. All right, so here's the premise. Dave Bautista is a assassin, not just a hitman. He is an elite assassin. And he starts to have some he meets a girl and he's, an assassin. He's very much a loner, but he kind of falls for this girl. And he's kind of been doing it for so long and he's like the cream of the crop. He's always the one that is like the superlative perfect assassin. No kids, never bystanders, never children, never wives, never innocents, always and only kills bad guys. That they only kill he only kills crime lords and real scumbags. So he says, I kind of want to thinking about maybe I want to retire. but I don't see any reason to, because I mean, what else have I got in my life? And then he meets a girl. And then he's like, I think I know what I want to do with the rest of my life, and I do want to retire. And here's the thing about the Killer's Game, this group of global assassins, is that you can't, once a contract is out, the contract is out. It can't be pulled back by anybody the um but the client. And it's essentially way that all the assassins say is like, that's the game. That's not how the game works. If somebody's like, I'll pay you triple not to kill me, it's like, that's not how the game works. They call it the game. Meets this girl, decides he wants to, knows what he wants to do with the rest of his life. He wants to retire and live out his life with her. And then he gets a diagnosis of a fatal disease that's going to kill him in 6 months, and like not in a pretty way either. Like his brain's going to go, everything's going to go bad. And so he decides that he wants to go out, not shitting himself and dribbling in a care facility. He puts out a contract for himself, because he can't kill himself, because he's got a life insurance policy for the new girlfriend. And if he kills himself, the policy is void. So he puts out a hit on himself. And he goes to an fellow assassin who hates him. Hates him. And the only reason why she hasn't killed him yet is because if she did, then all the other assassins would come after her, because that's against the rules of the game. You don't kill your own. And so he essentially says, here's your chance. And he puts out a hit for himself. And he's like, okay, as of midnight, give me until midnight so I can make arrangements. After midnight, do it.
Mm-hmm.
And at 11:54 p.m., he gets a phone call from his doctor that says, oops, I'm sorry, you were misdiagnosed. You're not going to die. And then he has to try and get out of the contract. And he can't, because at this point, the assassin is like, oh no. He goes, but I'm the client. He's like, oh no, this is personal. You started this. I'm ending this. And she calls in. She puts in her own money at this point and starts to hire all the other assassins to come down on him. And it becomes this essentially cavalcade of these crazy ass characters that are trying to kill him. And it is fan-fucking-tastic. It is over the top good. I can't. This is my movie of the year. And I know I'm probably, hard. I mean, it's hard for me to be taken seriously because I don't see many movies, or haven't in many, many years. This movie is my movie of the year. I would absolutely watch this again. Absolutely, without question.
There's this box office analyst that I've been reading him for years. I really love him. I respect him. Our like movie tastes line up pretty well. And he said, like, go see this movie. This is like a classic kind of action movie that they don't make much anymore of.
Yep.
That
There's a very much a 70s kind of fun about it, suspension of belief at just the right amount.
yeah, I guess that there's a lot of direct to TV, direct to like streaming action movie veterans making this. That the the director, I believe he said, directed the movie Daybreak on Netflix, which is
Yeah.
actually like a pretty decent action vampire movie.
Mhm.
And I remember watching that one going like, this is a decent action movie, especially for Netflix.
Yeah.
And so this was like kind of a chance for like, oh, the guys that always did direct to streaming action movies, a chance for a theatrical movie, and then it just like kind of gets dumped at the end of
It
summer.
did. It got dumped, and it is so much better than any of the high summer movies that I've seen. And this summer I saw them all.
Yeah. You definitely saw a
And
bunch.
I mean, I see sometimes at least one a week, sometimes two. sometimes 3 or 4 if you count the Netflix and all the other stuff. So I'm seeing a lot of films. This is by far, I would see this again with I saw it yesterday, I'd see it again today.
Wow.
It's that fun.
Okay.
So run, don't walk to go see this because it is such good throwing popcorn at the screen, super fun, classic John Wick, Quentin Tarantino style, just tongue in cheek, but so well done. Yeah. Yeah, go see it. So that's my one review for the week.
Okay, good. My general schedule is like I always go see movies on Tuesday or Thursday.
Mhm.
And so I'm checking like, will this still be in theaters on Tuesday? Yes, it will.
If it's not, you need to go today. Go see it
No,
today.
it'll be in theaters Tuesday.
Okay, good.
So I'll go see it then.
Yeah. Get popcorn, get Raisinets, full on lean into the summer movie experience because this is, this I'm calling this the Indian summer movie because it's like after the technical summer and into the technical fall, but it is such a warm summer hug from the cinematic universe of everything. This is so good. So
Cool.
good. I walked
AC
out of there, like, jumping up and down about how much I enjoyed that film, and I haven't enjoyed a film like that in a long time.
AC Ray's put in the chat that apparently it has only a 43% on critics, but
What?
81 for audiences.
Yes! Because the critics don't get it. It is not that kind.
I mean,
This is one of those movies that if the critics are giving it a good review, you gotta wonder, because this is not a critic movie.
No,
This
but
is
the
this
guy
is
that I told
audience
you about,
movie. This is
I
a
feel
fan
like
favorite.
I feel like this is a specific type of movie. And so like I said, the box office guy I read, he's kind of an aficionado of like low budget direct to streaming action movies. And so when he says this is a good action movie, I
Mhm.
generally know, okay, this is going to be a good action movie.
This is a good action movie. What was the one? Did I call him Dave Bautista? That's his
Yeah,
name.
Dave Bautista. Yeah.
Bautista.
Yeah, you put those in. I think you said it and he put that in around the same time.
Okay, yeah. Oh, I see. That's when I wasn't coming up with his last name. Yeah, Dave Bautista. Really good. Go see it. Worth it.
I will.
You'll thank
I'm
me
excited
later.
for it.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So now that we've done that, shall we hit Das Newsen?
Yeah.
All right. Now let's hit the news.
There's actually been a good. Oh yeah, that's right.
What? Hold on a second. You just went silent. All right. Sorry. This is the GameHounds News and commentary of the week in gaming with gamer Edie and Nick Danakoa. And our first item is, what did you say? Because your headset went.
I said, "Oh, that's right. We have a news intro."
Yeah, we do.
There've been like a couple big news items in the 2 weeks that we were away, so I'm wondering where to start. And
there's so many.
I have
old stories. It's hard to pick.
I have a preference of where to start because it leads into the game I've been playing.
Okay. All right. Yes, let's do that.
So, Sony finally announced and gave details about the PS5.
Oh, yes. Oops, sorry. Got it.
The PS5
Pro.
Yeah, the PS5 Pro. And these will be, I forget when it's coming out, but it's coming out like in November. Pre-orders begin on the 26th of this month, I believe. But more importantly, it will cost $700. And that price definitely, there was a solid sticker shock around.
Yeah, that had the same moment of, remember when they announced the PS3? Yeah, when it was PS3 versus the Xbox 360, and they announced the PS3, and they announced that price, and everybody at E3 went, oh, I mean, you could hear like an audible gasp from everyone in the audience when they said it was $700. Now, granted, that was them, then money, not them 700.
Back then.
But still, it's that same audible gasp with like, they're charging what?
Yeah. So it's been long enough and I've read enough like ancillary material about this that I think when you look at all the information, the
Uh-huh.
price actually makes a lot of sense.
It does.
That's not saying that it's
A good idea.
affordable or expensive.
Right.
I'm just saying that like I understand Sony's thought process. The first part of this is just like basic inflation and the
Mhm.
fact that component costs have not decreased in the past several years like they usually do for hardware.
Right.
That's why the PS5 has never gotten a price cut and in fact has gotten price increases in Japan is
Mhm.
because it's it's not getting cheaper to make this console.
Right, which is unusual for this generation. Usually by
Oh,
this far
absolutely.
into the generation, the costs have come down. I mean, the first half of the generation, it's subsidized, but the second half of the generation, the prices come down enough so that it's worth it. But the economy being weird in the middle of the lifespan of this console, um, kind of jack that up
Yeah.
so that the economics don't pencil out the way that they would have in generations
Yeah.
previous.
So I think was Stephen Totillo in his newsletter had like a breakdown of PlayStation costs um based on inflation of what they
Mhm.
would cost today. And what I thought was interesting is the PlayStation 5 today costs $600. So basically, um if you take the PlayStation 5's launch price of 500 and you just factor in time, that same console today costs $600.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that
If
much.
you if you make a console that's a little bit better than that, which is what the PS5 Pro is, you get $700. It's
Right.
like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. But the reason why Sony stuck with that number, I think, is partially because there is no Xbox console coming out. There
Mhm.
is no Xbox mid-cycle refresh. So that means they don't have any like console competition coming in to threaten them. They can kind of charge whatever they want for this device. But also, what I thought was really interesting is that the PS4 Pro that was priced really, really aggressively. Uh, the PS4 Pro cost $400, and the PS4 cost $400. So it's like, hey, I'm getting a better console for the same price. This is pretty awesome.
Mhm.
Even though it was priced pretty aggressively and marketed pretty aggressively, only I believe it was 13% of all PS4 sales were PS4 Pros. So like the PS4, even at an aggressive sales price and an aggressive marketing strategy, was just a niche hardware device.
Right, it
No one
was.
no one really bought it. And so I'll bet Sony looked at the PS5 Pro and said, this the Pro is a niche hardware device, so we will price it like a
As a
niche hardware
niche,
device.
which
The
makes sense. Yeah.
and that's part of why I think the reaction to it was so negative is because the m if you if you watch this video, it's worth watching the reveal because the reveal is the most boring PowerPoint corporate presentation I've ever fucking seen. Mark Cerny has like a voice, God gifted voice of ASMR. You listen to him talk and you're like, oh my God, it's so calming, so
Yeah.
gentle. Oh, that's great. PlayStation. Oh, but Mark Cerny, your voice. And like, look, it's graphics mode. You can practically see the bullet points that he's talking through. And I think that showcases that like this isn't really a mainstream device. This is like an internal presentation.
Mhm.
But they announced it to the mainstream. And
Right.
so naturally, the mainstream is like, what the fuck is this? Even
Mhm.
though they're not the target audience, it's like, well, you didn't say that this wasn't mainstream. It's just kind of has to be implied. Uh, but yeah, um, it's a niche device, priced like a niche device, lack of competition from Xbox, coupled with rising costs of components and Sony going, we don't want to subsidize this because that's expensive to do. We want to sell this as close to at cost as possible. I
Mhm.
think all those reasons make it $700. But more importantly, kind of big picture, I think this is also Sony trying to create a new standard because, like, video game consoles are becoming a niche part of this entire industry. Most of the money is in phones. Most of the money is in Fortnite and Apex Legends and like Call of Duty Warzone. You can play those on cheap ass laptops, right? You don't need consoles. What is a video game console in 2024? The
Mhm.
Xbox has decided it's not a console. It's not this box that we need. Um, and so I think this is kind of the last gasp of the console has high-end box. And it'll be interesting to see what the PS6 is, because what I think you've seen this generation is the games that make the most money are not the games that demand the most out of hardware. And so you've had this split where all the hardware manufacturers are like, focus on graphical fidelity, focus on ray tracing, focus on all that, high-end graphic stuff. But all the games that make money are cartoon stuff like Fortnite and Roblox and Minecraft. And so there's this split where the money is not in high-end graphics. And so what are hardware manufacturers to do now? And that's not an enviable position.
Right.
I don't know what Sony's answer to that is, but I think if they decide that the answer is high-end box, then they are kind of doubling down on the idea as high-end gaming consoles are a niche part of this industry, and we will just be like we will be the Bose headphones of the gaming industry.
Yeah. True. Yeah, there it is AC Wright points it out. It's for whales.
Yeah,
It's for
yeah,
people that have $700 that they don't need, that they can throw away
yeah.
on and want to throw away being able to say that I have a PS5 Pro. Um and that's great for those people that want it, but and Sony clearly probably knows that they are going to be few. It's
Yeah.
not going to be the
There's
majority.
there's
This
gonna
is
be at
this
least
is not this is
13%.
not the console you're looking for. Keep
Yeah.
moving. Nobody wants this except like the 12 people that do, but the 12 people that do will pay for this.
They're
And
like,
a lot
look,
because
they,
they have
they
money
just
for it.
want
Don't
that
care.
those 13% of whales, and they're like, that's fine. That's
That's fine.
all we need.
That's a lot of money, you know? That
Um,
13%, you multiply that for $700 a piece, and all of a
yeah.
sudden, it seems like it's a pretty good deal.
All of a sudden, like their
It makes
bottom
sense. It
line looks a
pencils
lot
out.
better.
Yep.
But how this relates to the game I've been playing, one of the more disappointing things about this reveal is that the games they showed off are Ratchet and Clank Future. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, which was like the PS5 launch.
Right.
And it's like, okay, they showed off The Last of Us Part 2, which was a fucking PS4 game.
Right.
They all the things that they showed off, none of them were new, right?
Yeah.
We're launching this new high-end console, and all we have to show it off are
Or old
old
games.
games. And
Interesting.
that made me realize, as I've been playing Astrobot recently, I've realized, oh my god, Astrobot is the first time this feels like a next-gen game. Astrobot is the only game on PS5 that feels like a next-gen PS5 game.
Okay.
And a lot of that has to do with how a lot of the advanced processing physics stuff just go into like goofiness. A lot of times you're running through a level, and if you hit a tree, a whole bunch of apples will fall down on top of you. And it's like, here's 20 apples. They're all discrete items. And if you punch one, you send them flying off in any direction. And it's very tech demo-y of like, here's a bunch of 3D objects that we have modeled physics simulations of. So I'm just smacking apples all over the place, and I hit another tree, another whole wall of apples comes down, and I just have a very brief moment of fun smacking these apples around. Or there's like some interesting fluid dynamics where you get into some water and the way like water flows around. It's all very realistic. It's all very nice. And it's all used for like these very quick 30-second kind of gameplay gags. Or at a certain point, you'll land on a bubble or you'll land on a balloon. And the way that the balloon sinks with your weight on it, it's like, oh, there's a lot of advanced physics work going on in this game,
Mm-hmm.
but it's all like invisible physics work. It shows it off in a way
Right.
that looks really cool, but like it's not trying to shove it in your face. It's just, hey, here's a bunch of like sprinkles on the ground. Isn't this fun?
Mm-hmm.
But what's neat is you couldn't do that with the PS4.
Right.
And so as I'm playing through these like water simulations, these like physics simulations, and then there's the controller and the incredible sense of the controller, the sound effects coming from it, and how those sound effects represent, you're running on water, you're running on sand, you're running on metal.
Yeah,
How the
that was
vibration,
when this game when the original
yeah,
Astro
the
game came
pack-in,
out. They're right. It was a demo. It was essentially a tech demo, but it
yeah,
was the best, and to this day, it is still up until this point, the best use of the game controller and the haptics and everything that the PS4 had to offer. So this is just more of the same. It's just, more extreme. It's actually finally they fleshed it out into a real game instead of it being a demo.
yeah, and
It
playing
was the
it,
same thing for the PS3 as well.
I
PS4.
realized, like that controller, that is the next gen shit you need.
Yeah.
It's not about the graphics. It's not about, um, how many people can we get into the background. It's not about, the 8K graphics.
Yeah.
Playing it with the controller, with the sound effects, with like that haptic feedback.
Mhm.
That haptic feedback was unique.
Yes.
The
And
PS4
I
cannot
don't
do that.
understand why other developers have not
And
used
no one
that.
has done that. And I think
No
that's
one
part of
except
why
Sony.
this generation has kind of felt so stagnant, is
Yeah.
because they've
The
all been
best
chasing these graphics, but like the actual thing that feels next gen is not the graphics.
No. And I don't understand why nobody's gotten that. Nobody's figured that out. Maybe it just almost seems like Sony isn't allowing the code to get out to
I think
maybe
they do. I just think a
do
lot of
this.
developers they just don't prioritize it. Because uh
Somebody
only
should at least
only
help
PlayStation
one
does the
person.
haptic
All it
feedback.
would take is one game that actually uses these features, and it would be
Yeah.
successful because there
Uh,
is only one game. Up until this point, there was only one. Now there's two. 2 games,
and
and they're exactly the same. I mean,
and
they're made the same games.
I kept thinking, man, if Black Myth Wukong had this kind of haptic feedback and like the sound effects from the controllers, I thought, oh, that would be so cool.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. And it's just kind of a sign of how, I don't know, this chasing of graphical fidelity that a lot of game companies and hardware manufacturers have gotten themselves into. It like you've hit a limit. You've hit
Mhm.
this limit. Games, they look photorealistic as shit already.
Yeah, they
And
actually are all the same game in many ways.
you're like 90% of the way to photorealism. But that extra 10% is going to cost you 90%. It's going
Yeah.
to cost you more than it's worth to actually invest in it. And so, yeah, playing this game has like in the aftermath of the PS5 Pro announcement just kind of made me think, oh, you're chasing the wrong thing. You
Yeah.
should be chasing Astrobot, but instead you're chasing,
All the other
60 frames
photorealistic
per
graphical
second.
yeah, exactly, this
Yeah.
is great. 60 frames per second. Yeah. Well, you're chasing Black Myth Wukong.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you're absolutely right, and, couldn't agree with you more, and, even there's been a couple of things that have been complete head scratchers to me about this industry. One of them is why didn't they do anything better with, Battlefield 1942?
Yeah.
And the other one was why didn't anybody make an Astrobot, do a clone of Astrobot? Because it would be an instant success. People would
Yeah.
buy it just because it is so unique and
Why
because
not
it's so
just use the
fun.
haptic feedback more?
Why doesn't anybody exactly the haptic? We know what it can do. It's like it's like look what it can do, and everybody's like, okay, thanks. Moving on. It's like no, don't move on. This is awesome, and you need to do this more. It's not
Yeah.
that hard.
So yeah, that's the other thing I've been playing a lot. And Astrobot is just fun.
Yeah,
It's
I
is
mean,
the,
just
like
it's fun to watch even.
it's a reminder that like there's no story to this. There's no like complicated themes. It's not like it's not. I would say it offers a little bit of challenge, but like at the end of the day, it's just fun.
Right.
There's a lot of moments playing it where I do something or it gives me some special ability. I got this one ability in this one level where you shrink into the size of a mouse. And so you're constantly growing and shrinking. And it's just, it makes you smile. It's a game that makes you smile and laugh and like
Yep.
feel good.
Yep. Okay, so and I really do want to play Astrobot because it does look like I mean I know that the original Astro was great, but
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
looks like way more of the good stuff.
Yeah. There's a lot of game there.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. No,
Um
oh yes.
and
Uh yeah.
to like kind of stay on the same subject,
Okay.
like look, $700 for a console. That's a lot of money. It's not really worth it. But Sony also showed off some like gray 30th anniversary colors for the console, and motherfuckers, they actually look really cool. as
Really?
as I was looking at them, I was like, "Oh, you assholes!" This like hits that little nostalgic thing in my brain that that PS1 gray, and I thought, "Oh, you fuckers! You make me want that console." It, thankfully, it's like a limited edition console.
Yeah.
So there's only 12,000 that are being uh created. So I need to decide immediately like do I really want this or do I just like the way it looks?
I kind of like the way it looks. It does have that
Right?
awesome. Yeah.
It looks cool. Is it $700 cool?
No, it is not. So this is only on the PS Pro?
No, cuz what they're showing off now is PS5.
Okay.
So this is a special limited edition for PS5 and PS5 Pro.
Got it.
So
So
like
how
if
much of it
look,
is for the PS5 Pro?
it's just 700.
Oh, it's still 700, but the
Yeah,
PS5, it's
it's probably like 500,
yeah,
right?
that's
Um, yeah. So I'm like, I don't really want a PS5 Pro, but if I would get one, I would get the gray one, and the
yep,
gray one's pretty cool.
yep.
I need it. I need the pre-orders to start, and I need it to instantly sell out so that I'm not tempted to try it.
Yeah, oh god,
Try
the
to get it.
controller looks awesome. Look
Right?
at that. Okay, yeah, sorry, but I'm having kind of a little bit of a want, like irrational want. Oh, that's so awesome. Look at that. Okay, but still, I'm not gonna buy it. It's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna get it. But it is kinda cool. If I
Yeah.
didn't already have a PlayStation and was happy enough with it, I would absolutely if I had a choice, I would pay for the
Yeah.
limited edition one.
Okay, this is for all you guitar people.
Wait, stop!
No. AC Ray says this is
No!
Nick's taught pickup on a vintage inspired guitar.
Oh,
I don't know what that means. AC Ray says personally, I hate taught. Why broomers like tobacco spit finishes and bloody pus plastic.
what?
I guess
Is
the
he
taught
are you
pickup.
having a stroke?
I guess a taught pickup is a specific thing that some people add to vintage guitars, and he's
Maybe.
like, this is Nick's version of that.
Oh, possibly? I have no idea. You just spoke in, like,
That's
clicks.
why I said this is for the guitar heads out there.
Okay, got it. Alright, so let me
Pick guard.
it's a pick guard, okay.
That's one of the things that protects the finish from picks.
Yeah, that's the
The
plastic
plastic protection cover.
yeah,
Okay.
it's a plastic piece that goes at the bottom of the strings so that when you strum it, it hits the pick guard. So let's see.
Gotcha.
My first item is okay. The next above the fold stuff that's going on. Let's see. Okay. Man, there's so many of them. Which one do I want to do? All right, let's do the Nintendo one since we were talking about
Mm.
Nintendo has finally, after many, many months of threatening to do so, filed, took legal
But they
action.
didn't really threaten anyone, right? That's
No,
what's kind
they
of weird
when
about
it happened, they were like, "Well, we're not okay with this. This seems to be a little bit of a
it.
copyright
No, they were
infringement."
just like
They
all the
were they were
fans were like, we should sue, but Nintendo was like, we're looking into it.
right. Well, apparently they looked into it and they are suing. And they are suing Pal World's developer Pocket Pair for the game that everybody described from day one as Pokemon with guns. Because, and it's interestingly enough, though, they're not suing them for copyright infringement. What they're suing them for is patent infringement. So they filed the lawsuit on September 18th, which was on Wednesday. And according to the complaint, they are seeking, quote, an injunction against infringement and compensation for damages on the grounds that Pal World, a game and developed released by the defendant, infringes on multiple patent rights, not
Yeah.
copyright, patents.
And
Quote, Nintendo will continue to take necessary actions against any infringement of its intellectual property rights, including the Nintendo brand itself, to protect the intellectual properties it has worked hard to establish over the years. So this made massive news all over everything. And of course, this was coming, like you said, after months of speculation that Nintendo would have to say something about Pokemon with guns. And it took him a long time. In fact, I guess somebody Pocket Pair was asked, like, 6 months after it came out, like, "Hey, so is Nintendo contacted you?" And they're like, "Nope, nothing. Haven't heard a thing." Quote, but this was a statement by Ash Ketchum. I'm sorry. This is a statement by one of the representatives of Palworld. He said, "quote Nintendo and Pokemon Company didn't say anything to us." This was the head of Pocket Pair, Katuro Mizobi. He told GameFile that news, and then he said, "quote Of course, I love Pokemon. And I respect it. I grew up in it. It's in my generation, but they haven't contacted us." So, so
yeah,
yeah,
so we don't
that
know what these patents are.
right, and that's the thing is that we kind of were waiting to see what would happen on Thursday and Friday, and Pocket Pair wasn't saying much after this lawsuit happened. So Pocket Pair finally released a statement. Whom us? They released a statement that they have no idea and don't to this moment of what patents were being infringed. In fact, they said they has said in a statement that they're unaware of which patents are being accused of infringing, and but they did say we will look into this to see if there are any patents that
Yeah.
we're infringing on.
So Paul Tassi of Forbes wrote
Right,
about this, and
right.
he brought up a couple interesting things that you may not know Nintendo has a patent on.
Oh,
Nintendo actually has a patent on gameplay mechanics of throwing a ball to catch a monster in a 3D world. They actually have a
I
patent
didn't
on
know that that was patentable. I thought that would be more like copyright.
that's the bigger question. They also have a patent on character hiding behind a tree and casting a shadow so that you can tell there's a character
Uh-oh.
hiding
Do
behind
we
a
lose you,
tree.
Nick? Is this me or is
Oh,
this you?
I see you frozen. Hello? Oh, are we
Am I
back?
back? All right.
Yes,
One
I
of
can
us
hear you
went
again.
down, and I think it might have been me.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Are we
I
good
can.
still?
We're
Okay.
good still. I think it was me. I think the stream borked.
Yeah.
So the last thing that I heard was they have a patent on a character
Character hiding
behind
behind a tree,
a tree, right?
casting a shadow so that you can tell there's a character hiding behind a tree.
See, that's
And
not
and that
patentable.
and that is where I think Nintendo kind of comes off as the villain of this whole thing,
That's
because
not patent. They
if
should have never
they
been given that patent in the
if
first
they're
place.
suing for like what seemed like pretty fundamental gameplay ideas, and like that's their route to sue Pocket Pair, then it really looks like, has AC Wraith wrote, a big company comes along to mess with a smaller company for using things many think are standard.
Right.
Like this makes Nintendo look like a bunch of bully assholes.
And the thing is,
Maybe
Nintendo
maybe
doesn't care.
Pocket Pair should go glory on them.
Yeah. Well, also, there were experts that I mean, there's been a lot of experts that are weighing in on this. Um, and one of them that I was reading about, a guy named Florian Miller, who is a former Blizzard consultant and the writer was the writer. It's now gone and defunct, but the Foss Patents blog. He described the whole situation as being kind of tricky. He said, quote, "It looks like they're not suing over creative rights relating to how Palworld characters look, though what that is what they originally appeared to be concerned about. Patents cover technical," and he even like asterisked this, so I'm giving it the air quote, "technical inventions. Patents cover technical inventions except for US patent design patents. In Japan, it appears they don't call design rights patents. And this means that they must be suing over software patents that will have nothing to do with what Palworld looks like. Those could be patents on, for instance, 3D image rendering. Such techniques can be used to make something that looks like Pokemon, and they can also be used to make something that looks like Warcraft. It's unlikely that Nintendo owns any valid patents, meaning patents that Pocket Pair couldn't shoot down in court, that are so powerful as to prevent Pocket Pair from making Palworld. Such patents can usually be worked around. You can get the same or almost the same effect using a different technique." Now, he went on to discuss about how small companies like Pocket Pair typically don't have any patents they can countersue with when they get
Hmm.
sued like this. But they say it is possible that companies like Pocket Pair, or even Pocket Pair specifically, could acquire some patents in order to countersue against this. So he goes on to say that Japanese patents are only valid in Japan. So even if Nintendo won, Pocket Pair can still potentially keep selling Palworld in other countries other than Japan. Although that might mean that Nintendo would have to escalate it further, and given what they've done, it doesn't seem like they would be adverse to that idea of just they prepare to escalate it if they needed to.
Yeah.
So,
Which
yeah,
again,
there's
just
a
kind of
lot of speculation about what exactly they're suing about and what's the grounds, the actual specific grounds that
yeah.
they're suing on. So we'll probably find that out in future weeks and or months or possibly years, but this is not going to be a fast uh a fast process.
Yeah,
Um
this is gonna take a
they
while.
even said that it'll take a long time. I mean, Mueller, the same guy, it's gonna take no matter what, regardless of what the reason is, it's gonna take a very long time to settle this through and trickle it down through the courts. And he does say that he thinks it's, quote, "more likely to last 5 years than to be settled during the first year."
Mm.
So, chances are this is going to be a long-term watch for us. We are going to be, watching this. I'm gonna be watching this into my retirement possibly. 5 years, it's not that far off. So yeah, that was kind of another one of those big, explosive, above the fold stories that happened this last 2 weeks, and there were a lot of them. I will hit another one since you hit a couple.
Okay.
Uh, Xbox has announced that it is laying off another 650 people
Yeah.
that are related to the through the Activision acquisition. And this announcement was made by Phil Spencer. And let me find out where that is. Not there, not there, not there, not there. Did I could have sworn I put it somewhere. Stand by, stand by, stand by, stand by, stand by. Oh, we go. So yeah, um, Xbox previously fired 1,900 employees that were considered to be redundant because they were acquired. The employees were acquired at the same with the sale, and of course, they had doubled up. So they had 1,900 workers, active Blizzard, Xbox, and Activision Blizzard workers that were fired in January. And now, like I said, they're adding another 650 to it. So we're looking at 2,500 people. 2,500 people are losing their jobs for a merger that Microsoft said they wouldn't fire people over when they made the claim to the FTC less than a year ago. Let me say that again. Less than a year ago, they said this wasn't going to happen. Now 2,500 people have lost their jobs. So Phil Spencer said that the cuts were, quote, post-acquisition era cuts. And here is the memo to the full staff for what he said, or for what happening. For the past year, our goal has been to minimize disruption while welcoming new teams and enabling them to do their best work. As part of aligning our post-acquisition team structure and managing our business, we have made the decision to eliminate approximately 650 roles across Microsoft Gaming, mostly corporate and supporting functions, to organize our business for long-term success. I know this is difficult news to hear. We are deeply grateful for the contributions of our colleagues who are learning they are impacted. In the US, we are supporting them with exit packages that include severance, extended healthcare, and outplacement services to help with their transition. Outside the US, packages will differ according to location. So, yeah. When is the FTC going to learn that just companies lie?
Yes, especially because
Ticketmaster
in this
lies,
instance,
Xbox lies.
once
Somebody needs to be called to account. I mean, yeah, Ticketmaster, at least it took them like 6 or 7 years before they actually took off the mask and revealed it was Old Man Crothers was the reason
yeah.
why the ghosts were appearing. They didn't even wait a year.
Well,
This was instant that they
what's
were like, "Oh yeah, this agreement, FTC."
what's interesting to me though is that whenever there's a merger of two companies,
Mhm.
yes, there are positions that are going to be redundant, right? Like HR positions, suddenly you don't need two HRs, you just need
Right.
one.
See,
But the
that
thing is,
makes
but the
sense.
thing is, these feel like the kind of layoffs that would have happened in the immediate aftermath of the acquisition.
Right.
Instead, we got 2,500 developers and um, what was
Sup support staff?
the supposed and the game studio, Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah,
What was their name? Tango GameWorks.
yes, thank you.
They closed down. Instead of
Actually shut
having,
down developers.
yeah,
They've actually shut down studios.
this feels like the kind of layoffs you would expect after an acquisition. Instead, we got a bunch of developer layoffs, and then several months later, we got these expected layoffs. But then that calls into question, wait, why did you do those other ones?
Why did you do the 1,900 people and shut down studios
Yeah,
if now you're getting rid of the support staff and the business management staff
yeah.
that were
And
redundant?
the truth is, they Xbox was in the red and they need to be in the black, and so they need to cut costs.
Right.
But that's such a fucked up reason, especially when you're in the red and you need to cut jobs to, stay in the black, but you just acquired 20 new developers.
Right. Well, you had said back in January when they cut those 1,900 staff members is that when the Xbox earnings reports came out, or sorry, Microsoft earnings reports came out, Xbox was making it, doing a great job of increasing their revenues. And you pointed out that that is the
Oh
reason why
yeah.
they fired 1,900 people, is to make their numbers look better for investors. Well, remember, January was a Q4 2023. This is Q3 2024, but both of them happened in 2024. So he gets a benefit of
Mm,
an extra savings in the fiscal years next year that are artificially inflating revenues because it's not increasing revenues, it's reducing costs by the 650 human beings. But on top of it, he also gets the benefit of that 650 person savings being put in the calendar year of the same 1900. So he gets 2,500 human being savings out of 2024 calendar. Plus, he gets to split the two of them over two
mm.
fiscals.
And now that you bring that up, I wonder if they laid off those 25. Oh, was it night? I think it was
1900.
1900.
It was
Laid off
1900. This is going to be
laid off all
25.
those people in January because had the acquisition gone through by then?
Yeah.
Okay. I was
Yeah.
wondering
That
if
was it.
maybe because I remember in a
Yeah,
lot
when
of
did it go through?
Microsoft's financial statements, like the Xbox division is up 40% year over year. But if you discount the Activision, then it's actually down like 4%. So that basically the only reason Xbox is doing better has a
October
subsection of
2023. October 2023.
okay. So then that could be
So
like basically when you look at Xbox's financials,
mhm,
the only reason it's doing better year over year is because of the acquisition. Because if you subtract all the money that Activision brings in, the Xbox, what is it, label? Xbox brand? What is it called? Like the subsidiary of a company, the subsection of a company? Like what
division.
is division? The Xbox division is actually doing worse year over year if you take out Activision.
Exactly. And if you also
And
not
that's
just take out
why they laid
Activision,
off
if
all the
you take
people.
out the layoffs.
Yeah,
If you
that's what I
take
mean.
out the layoffs.
In January, they laid off all those people because they didn't have the credit of Activision yet.
Yep.
So they're like, we need to get in the black. We don't have the boost from Activision yet. What's a quick and dirty way for us to do this? Lay a bunch of people off.
Right. And this is same answer. What's a quick and dirty way to, Activision hasn't turned a huge profit for us yet. What's a quick and dirty way to adjust our numbers before the end of the year in a different fiscal year so we can get the benefit over 2 years fiscally with our investors, and that we can also say in the first year of ownership, we had this much savings. Because remember, this is also October 2023 was when the merger completed. So this is within the first year of the merger. Of
Hmm.
the 1900, all 2,500 happened within the first year of the merger. So this would be the optimal time to be actually get the most amount of benefit and be able to skew the numbers, skew the statistics, the lies, damn lies, and statistics to make it look like Microsoft is doing better than it truly. I mean, sorry, Xbox is doing better than it truly is, especially after this massive merger that I honestly don't think that they will see the benefit of.
It,
I don't think that this was a good acquisition for them.
uh,
I think that this is going to drag them down.
I think what Call
When
of
is Call of
Duty
Duty?
does,
Yeah.
what
What
Call
depend
of Duty
right.
does, the next month. Wait, I believe it's next. I believe it comes out in October. But like what that does for Game Pass will kind of be the make or break moment of the acquisition.
Yeah, and if it doesn't, he's fucked.
If it doesn't lead to a spike in Game Pass subscribers, then yeah, it's like, well, this all
October
was for
25th.
nothing. Okay. Yeah. That's the date that is keeping Phil Spencer awake at night.
Yeah. Yep, sure is. I think they've made a horrible mistake. I could be
Okay.
wrong. And I no
Speaking
longer own Microsoft anymore, so I don't have to disclaim.
speaking of horrible mistakes,
Mhm.
um the financials of Concord may be worse than what people thought.
I
So this
know. And did you hear about how they suffered, quote unquote, "toxic positivity"?
yes.
I love that
Um
phrase.
so there are some aspects of this story that like
I need to go get
don't
something to
sound
drink. I will be right back. I'm listening. I can hear you. I just need to get something to drink. Be right
okay.
back.
So I'm going to quote some stuff from Paul Tassi because he had a nice summary of this, but this is actually coming from um, Sacred Symbols, which is a YouTube show. Colin Moriarty from there, and he is citing a source that worked on Concord. I don't know how accurate they are, um, so take it with a grain of salt. Um, he said that Concord basically cost Sony $400 million, broken up into two halves of development. That Sony had already spent $200 million before the game hit an alpha state, which to me seems like a little crazy. And then it goes on to say that the game was in a laughable shape when it was shown in that alpha state, so much so that Sony felt like it needed to spend $200 million to get it into like minimal viable product status. Those two data facts seem like really, really absurd to me, and they don't sound realistic. Like a game doesn't cost $200 million to get into an alpha state. And if it's in a laughable state when it's in alpha, why would you spend $200 million more? I've heard other breakdowns of the money that say the game cost $200 million to make in total, but then Sony spent another $200 million buying the studio. That to me seems like a more of a realistic breakdown of
Yeah.
the money.
Because that's that $400 million to make that game. That does not, I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a fine looking game, but that wasn't a
Yeah,
$400 million game
yeah,
by
it didn't,
any standards.
yeah. Like if Spider-Man 2 for PlayStation 5 reportedly cost 300 million.
Yeah, that's
And
a
so
three
like
hundred
if you
million dollar game.
like yeah, that game looks like it. It's
Mhm,
long. There's a
mhm.
lot of stuff going on. Concord in comparison is like how do you spend that much money? So $200 million and then another 200 to buy it makes more sense than 200 pre-alpha and 200 post-alpha. But
Mhm.
regardless of how the money was spent, why it was spent is because reportedly it had the studio Firewalk had a corporate culture of toxic positivity
I love
where
that phrase.
no one was able to say anything bad about it, and
It's a
that
great game, it's
definitely
wonderful, it's fantastic, and everybody was like, no one could say anything other, that everybody was just high on the smell of their own farts.
seems realistic considering the game that came out because the
Mhm.
game that came out was decent, right? Everyone
Yeah,
agrees. Like it
it was a
played
good game.
decently. It looked really good. Like the graphical fidelity, they had a ton of like the character designs people didn't like. But again, culture of toxic positivity. You're not going to say the character designs look kind of bland and boring. Instead, you're
Right.
going to say, look at this motion capture animation that looks genuinely fantastic. Look
Mhm.
at the level of graphical fidelity in their skin and their
Yeah,
hair. That
yeah,
looks really good. And it
yeah.
all did look really good. It played decently, but like, okay, you spent all this time making something decent, but this toxic positivity prevented you from going. You're
Yes, but is
just
it good?
decent. You
Is
no,
it
it's
yeah,
like
is
you're just decent, but
yeah,
that's it.
it's not
You're
great.
like
It's
you're
okay.
average.
It's okay.
And yet reportedly like this was supposed to be like Sony's Star Wars between the cinematics and its inclusion in Secret Level, the Amazon show, that Sony was kind of planning this is going to be our Star Wars. There's going to be a huge multimedia push. We're going to have movies and TV shows. This is going to be
They were
everything.
so drinking their own Kool-Aid.
Mhm. And what if it's true that it costs $200 pre-alpha and $200 post-alpha?
200 million.
Yeah, 200 million. One of the reasons that could be possibly real is because it's reported that this is Herman Holst, who is the CEO of Sony Interactive, that
Mhm.
he was a massive champion of the game, that this was, by all accounts, his baby. So if you have the CEO of Sony Interactive personally pushing this game,
Right.
it's very easy to see how that leads to the toxic positivity, how that leads to we're just going to invest more and more and more money into this
Right.
because
Right.
a CEO really likes it. And you're not
Yeah.
going to say no
And
to
you're
the
not who's gonna
CEO.
say Paul's what's his name? Paul Tassi?
Paul Tassi is the journalist.
Oh, no.
Herman Holst
Herman.
is the
Yeah.
CEO of
Who's gonna
Sony
yeah.
Interactive.
Who's gonna tell Herman it's not that great?
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna tell Herman it's not that great. They're gonna be like,
And
"Herman, I agree with you 100%, dude. Couldn't agree more. Think it's a great idea. I think you're a genius. How did you do this, Herman? You are so damn smart."
yeah. And it's like, I'll bet people on that team will like, this game is not shaping up the way people think we are. But you know what? If we tell them that
Right.
and they
They
pull
they
funding,
seem to like it,
no, but
you
like,
know?
if we tell them that and they pull funding, then we don't have anything to work
We
on.
don't have a
We're out
job.
of a job.
We don't have a
So
job.
let's keep the ruse going, because that means we'll have a job for the
Eventually,
next 6
somebody's gonna
months.
say this game sucks. Eventually, right? Somebody's gonna say it's not that great, right? And they didn't. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, the only people who might have actually said something were the people that had a dog in the fight to keep it going. They were the
Yeah.
only ones that could have been able to say, I actually think it's not that good. But they had a very good reason to just shut the fuck up and let everybody just keep paying the bills because it's like,
Yeah. John Doe graphic artist is like, well, I want this job. I'm gonna keep
right, what am I?
I'm gonna milk this job for as long as I can.
They
And
seem to like what I'm doing.
that
Okay,
means just going with the flow.
whatever,
But
gotta
yeah,
pay the bills.
already the director of Concord has stepped down from Firewalk Studios. If it's true that like Herman Holst was really pushing this, he should probably step down too.
He should absolutely stop.
But I don't think anything has mentioned that.
So AC Ray
This,
said, positivity. Oh,
oh,
wait, hold on a second.
he also
Toxic
says,
positivity
yeah,
occurs when encouraging statements are expected to minimize or eliminate painful emotions, creating pressure to be unrealistically optimistic without considering the circumstances of the situation.
yeah, he says like it's a common phrase.
Yeah, this
And
sounds like T-ball coaches who hide the score from the kids who ask. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Thank you for the link. By the way, you've given us 2 links today, AC Ray, that made me laugh out loud. This one is the first one where you actually looked up the actual official definitions of toxic positivity. Also, can I say I have to scroll back. So I have to go back quite some ways. My favorite link you have ever given right here. Behold it. My favorite AC Wraith link. Raisinets! He actually linked Raisinets when I said, go out, get some popcorn, get a drink, get some Raisinets, dive deep into this summer, the oeuvre, the feeling of a summer movie. And he actually provided a link for Raisinets. And yeah, you said that you hadn't eaten them in years. I'm a Raisinets girl, hardcore. Yeah. I mean, and not only does Chris know, Claire, his daughter, knows that if I'm taking Grandpa to go sit in the chairs, because I'm usually the one that's escorting him into the theater while they go get snacks.
oh,
Claire knows. Box of Raisinets for eating.
okay, awesome.
She's got me down. She has me dialed. Anyway,
She knows how to get on your good side.
Oh,
Let,
yeah,
let
she does.
in the future, if she ever goes, "Hey, Edie, would you like some raisinets?" You're
Right.
like,
Are you
"What the fuck
angry
did
at
you
me?
do?"
Yes. Would you like some raisinets? Yes. Does that make it better? Yes.
A
Mm,
little.
a little bit.
How
Okay.
how many raisinets you got?
That's right. How many boxes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do love a raisin. I mean,
What?
I will eat raisinets until I black out.
Mm.
Yeah, raisinets and raisinets and Thin Mint cookies. I will eat until I
Oh
black
yeah, Thin Mint cookies. They're
out.
so easy.
Yeah,
They go down so
raisinets
easy.
too. Raisinets are like, oh, I'm starting to like I can feel my blood sugar raising. I'm starting to go like my vision is starting to blur. And you're like, yeah, but just one. Like you just catch yourself eating one more. Like we don't ever stop eating them. You just slow down eating them and start like melting the sugar, melting the chocolate in your mouth instead of just chewing them.
You just hold it on to
Let's
hold it
see.
in your mouth. Oh,
Private miners don't have names. We heard nothing. What?
oh, he's saying like don't name minors.
Oh, yes. Yes, private miners don't have names.
And by
They have
miners, he means the people working in the salt mines.
right, right. Also, you
Yes.
can say first names. That's fine. So,
So
oh,
yeah,
yes, Concord's
it's
director stepped down. He absolutely should, and Herman should lose his job as well. Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. If he really was the one that was championing this all the way along and given I mean, it wasn't just a bad I mean, it wasn't just like it wasn't a bad game. It was
but it was a
the
bad flop.
horrible, horrible business decision.
Yes.
It was a financial disaster. So, yeah, he should absolutely lose his job. There's no question about that one.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, nobody should be getting a bonus that
Oh
was had
yeah.
anything to do with that game. But, he's also what? The head of the interactive, so of course he's
Yeah.
gonna
Had
get
his
this bonus.
yeah.
Well, somebody's gotta pay for that jet. So my next item is, okay, yeah, the next big more death and destruction within the developer
Oh, I
sphere.
thought that was all the death and destruction. I don't have any more death and destruction news.
I do. So, Annapurna Interactive.
Oh yes.
Yeah, how do you miss that one? Annapurna Interactive. Last week, the entire staff of Annapurna Interactive resigned in mass. The entire staff, every employee of the company quit their job. Now, granted, let's keep this in mind. This is a 25 person studio. It's not a lot, but
Yes.
it is also every single person of a not inconsequential studio that makes games that you've heard of. Annapurna is Astray is an Annapurna game.
Yeah,
What
the
remains of
stray.
the Smiths?
Edith
Outer
Finch.
Wilds, Gorogoa, Neon White. Tons of games that you know is made by this studio that had 25 people and now has 0 people working for it in one day because they all quit. Why? Well, this has to do over a disagreement about the way that the company has been running. Um, the in fact, the actual members did release and this was, of course, reported by Bloomberg because, of course, Jason Schreier. This is not Jason Schreier. It's Jason.
Bloomberg is. I believe Bloomberg is Schreier.
Is it Schreier?
Yeah, Totillo is Game Files.
Right, I'm thinking right, Totilo. Yeah, it's definitely Schreier. So, Bloomberg reported, they were the ones that broke it, that the gaming division and Anna Ellison is the head of Annapurna, but the entire company resigned, because they were unable to convince Megan Ellison to let them spin off their games division into a new company. That's what they wanted. Because remember, Annapurna Interactive is a division of Annapurna, which also does Annapurna Films and a bunch of
Yeah.
other stuff. Their films are actually a bigger part of the company than the gaming
Although they
is.
haven't done any film for a while. Like Annapurna hasn't had like a big movie release in a long time.
Are you sure? It just seems
Yeah.
odd. So anyway, the controversy more specifically revolves around the negotiations that were undertaken by the company's president, Nathan Gary, and that he was in talks with Megan Ellison to get the game division into its own independent entity. And when they didn't work, um, Nathan Gary and every other employee of the company all resigned in protest. Now, there is a Bloomberg spokesperson told, a Annapurna spokesperson told Bloomberg that the existing games that are in the works are going to remain under the company and everything is going to still go on. Clearly, they're taking a little bit of a hiatus while they figure out who's going to be working on it because they're going to have to hire a bunch of people. But the Hollywood Reporter said that Nathan Gary and the co-heads of Annapurna Interactive, Deborah Mars and Nathan Vella, would be leaving, and then shortly afterwards, that that everybody else did. What started the whole thing, according to the Hollywood Reporter, is that Annapurna said that they had planned to integrate its in-house gaming operation with the rest of Annapurna's divisions, which included film, TV, and theater. So what Annapurna wanted to do was take all these divisions that were separate and put them all together, which sort of makes sense because TV, film, theater, yeah, they could, theater arguably maybe, but they're all kind of in the same genre,
The same kind
right?
of wheelhouse.
The
Yeah.
same wheelhouse. But then they wanted to take games and stick that in the wheelhouse. And that's where Annapurna Interactive said, wait. Can we talk about this? Putting film and TV together, absolutely. Putting film and theater together, absolutely. Putting film and putting TV and theater together, absolutely. Putting games and any of those together, no, because first off, film, TV, theater, those are going to be a lot of employees. There are only 25 members of the gaming division. And if you dilute those voices make it one big single monolithic company, gaming's going to get lost. And they're right, it would be. They couldn't do a good job. That the reason why Annapurna works is because it is small teams working independently and creatively kind of in their own little island. If you stick that island among these other much bigger islands, they're going to get swamped. They're going to get swarmed and they're going to get lost. So that is why they wanted to do it and why they wanted to have the Annapurna Interactive spared from this merger between all their divisions. And I guess I guess they didn't think it's a good idea or decided against it, and they paid a price. So Megan Ellison kind of, I think, shot herself in the foot. Well, obviously, shot up. Is this a bullet in any body part for Annapurna? No, because their
Yeah.
bread and butter is their movie division.
I mean, also
Follows,
Megan Ellison is like the wife or daughter of the guy CEO of Oracle.
yeah,
And
of Larry
so she's kind of like a billionaire family member. And so this is like, well, I'm not going to let my pet project company go under. So we're just going to hire people to replace everyone.
right. She's got deep pockets.
Yeah.
But the bread and butter of Annapurna, the parent company, is first their movies, followed by TV. Theater is a little bit smaller, but yeah, movies and TV are their vast majority of what they do. As far as their company is concerned. Losing Annapurna Interactive is not a huge, like it's not disabling to Annapurna as a company. It's inconvenient for them. But what it does suck for all 25 people at Annapurna who walked away. Because Again, 25 human beings that don't have jobs. And in this case, don't even have severance. So it sucks. It's terrible. My guess, though, is if you have the two heads of the company and all 25 workers leave and quit in an environment where currently anti-competition clauses are illegal, I would imagine within a week or so we are going to be hearing about a new studio being created.
Yeah, I think if they are all so like bound together and so loyal to each other that they all quit at the same time, they'll absolutely just create another company together.
Yep, yep.
It might
And that
take a
does say a
while,
lot. It
but
does say a lot about the leadership of Annapurna that you can convince 25 people
yeah,
to quit their jobs
yeah.
in a
Whoever was the
day.
leader
Like,
of that,
leave today.
yeah, whoever was in charge of that, like
The names of them are
that was a really good leader.
yeah, um, Deborah Mars and Nathan Vella. They're the co-heads of Annapurna. They must be amazing
Hmm.
because that's hard to convince 25 people who have families and houses and mortgages to quit their jobs.
Yeah,
Now, if Megan Ellison was the head of something, it'd be fine because Megan Ellison would be like, I got you guys. I'm sure Deborah Mars and Nathan Vella do not have the money to get the backs of 25 families.
yeah. It's like no, don't worry, we got you covered.
We got you covered. I'll find something to. I'll make sure you're okay. I don't think that they have those kind of deep pockets, but uh, yeah, I'm very very curious. And if you think about it, Annapurna puts out really good games. I don't think they've
Yeah,
ever put out a full dud. They've had some
let's
games that have
see.
done better than others. Um, Gorogoa was
Yeah, Gore was awesome.
awesome, but it was a smaller game of their big games.
What did they
But
do?
Outer Wilds and Stray were massive hits, and those are their most recent games.
Okay, yeah.
They're
Looking
at
at the
the
website, they've got a bunch that I guess haven't come out yet, and a bunch that I don't recognize.
What do they have? What do you mean? Like, give me some names.
Lush Foil Photography Sim, Forever Ago, Skin Deep. I've heard of Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. That
Mhm.
one's good. Okay, these look like games that I've heard of. Flock, Lorelei, Open Roads, Thirsty Suitors, Cocoon. I still gotta play Cocoon. Mundawn, which was a horror game. Storyteller, cool puzzle game. Hindsight is one I don't recognize. A Memoir Blue, I recognize that. Neon White, Stray, Hohokam. The thing is,
Remember Hohokam.
I've heard of all these games.
Mhm.
Solar Ash, all for escape. 12 minutes. 12 minutes is one of the most god awful experiences I have
It's a
ever
good
sat
game,
through
right?
for a game.
Just a god awful experience.
Oh, no, I'm serious. Like that game is terrible
Oh, is
in
it?
every conceivable factor. Like it is
Really?
boring,
So,
it
I
is
was about to say that I
frustrating.
don't think they've ever had a dud, but I guess
No.
that's
Oh,
the dud.
I fucking hate that game. That game is so bad. I think it's on Game Pass, so you can play it if you want.
Okay. It's called what, 12 seconds?
12 minutes.
12 minutes. What's
It's
the
it's an interesting premise where
Mhm,
like you're stuck in a time loop,
mhm.
and like it opens with this guy
Oh, that's right, with
breaking down your
the guy
door.
and the girl in the apartment.
Yeah. Like a guy
Yeah, I
breaks
remember
down
that.
your door and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill you
And you're
both."
the
And you
girl and you need to get away, and you're trying to
no, you're the guy.
oh, you're the guy,
Yeah.
but he kills the girl. He kills your wife.
He could potentially.
Right, right, and so you keep going over that scenario trying to find out the best
Yeah.
decisions at any particular time.
The problem is that that means you replay the same shit over and
Over
over and
and
over again. And the solutions of like, what do I do to progress this? Are like, oh, I never would have thought of that. And it all builds to a climactic twist that's like, oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. this this is what it's all about. Oh, this is some bullshit. This is this is bad. Why? Why did I waste my time for this twist? Oh, not good. But you know what? I remember that game.
You
So
do.
that's
You really remember that game.
that stays that game has scarred me for life.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
other stuff. Unfinished Swan. I Am Dead, The Pathless, Maquette, If Found, Kentucky Route Zero, Sayonara
Kentucky
Wild
Route
Hearts,
Zero, I hear, is a great
Telling
game.
Lies Journey, Outer Wilds, Ashen, Gorgor, Gone Home, Donut Country, Florence, Flower, Edith
Gone
Finch.
Home.
They have a
Their latest games, their most recent games are their best games they've made.
yeah, they have a track record that other people, other publishers would kill for.
Kill for. I don't think that they may have had some lackluster ones that weren't that, didn't do that well financially, just simply because people didn't know them. But they're small games. They don't take much money to make
Yeah.
in general. Like things like Kentucky Route Zero was not a very expensive game to make. But they almost all of them are interesting, if not well received.
Yeah, and what's crazy, like the hardest thing about indie games is like breaking through the chaos and the noise of the gaming industry to
Mhm.
just have your game's name get out there.
Right.
Looking through their website, I have heard of like almost every game that
Their
they put
marketing
out.
division is good. They
Yeah,
know what they're doing because somehow, some way, we heard of almost every single one of those games.
yeah. And a lot of the ones I don't know of, I think that's because they're not actually out yet.
Right. Probably. Well, they may not be coming out.
Yeah.
So I would say that I would venture to guess that there is going to be in very short order, a new studio that's coming out that's really, really good. They're going to make some great games.
Yeah.
So, and they know what they're doing. And, if you ever get a job offer from what's the two of their names? If you ever get a job offer from, is it,
David something?
Deborah Mars and Nathan
Deborah.
Vella. If Deborah Mars or Nathan Vella ever calls, you might want to think about taking that job because apparently they must be awesome because people would quit their jobs to work with them again.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that's my stories. You got another one?
Yeah. First of all, AC Wraith says the Kentucky Route Zero was one of the Netflix offerings I was happy to find and should run on all my devices.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about
That-
Kentucky Road
That's a
Zero.
very good game. The final episode of it came out like right at the start of the pandemic, and a lot of that game is about like the way capitalism and work kind of slowly takes over and consumes your life, and like that kind of downward spiral of work,
Mhm.
work. And so playing that at like that moment in time was like, oh, this is too real. This is like a vision of the apocalypse
Yeah.
that is like, oh shit, this hits too close to home. And I
This one
I,
stings.
I couldn't finish it, but it's a very good game.
Yeah. All right. So your
Uh,
next one?
in happier news, in good news, Arcane, the League of Legends Netflix show that is better than it has any right to be. Uh,
Did you add this?
Oh, maybe I didn't. I was having trouble adding things because I had a cat in my hand and I could
Oh,
only
okay.
type
All
one
right.
thing.
What about Arcane?
Season 2 has a release date, and it is this November. Like the first season, it will be released in 3 batches. The first batch of episodes will be released on November 9th, the next batch a week later on the 16th, and the next batch a week later on the 23rd. So
Mhm.
it's going to kind of follow the same structure that the first season did.
Okay.
Um, The first season was like I believe 3 episodes per batch. We don't know if that will be the same for this season, but either way, uh, more Arcane, which is really really cool because that show, like I said, better than there's any right to be.
Okay. Good to
More
remember.
slick, more like better character development, visually interesting, just kind of awesome all around.
Why don't you go back to this next one?
Okay. Yes, so Game Pass Standard, the kind of new Game Pass low monetary tier,
Right.
has gone into effect. It is now available for purchase. And as part of that, one of the things is that it wouldn't get games day and date. That was one of the big sort of controversial points about it. But now that it's out, we can see that also a lot of recent games aren't available.
Really? Like what?
Yeah. That is, let me get like a whole list. Okay. Another Crab's Treasure, which was like this kind of cartoony Souls-like game. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, Core Keeper, Diablo 4, that's a big one.
Mhm.
Dungeons of Hinterberg and Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn, those were two big ones that came out last month.
Right.
Ayuden Chronicle: 100 Heroes, that came out on there like a couple months ago. Flock, which we had just mentioned, was an Annapurna game.
Right.
Was it Forza Motorsport, Harold Halibut, Heavy Weapon, Humanity, Path of the Goddess isn't on there. Little Kitty, Big City, Neon White, Octopath Traveler 2, Open Roads, another Annapurna game.
Mm-hmm.
Sea of Solitude, Hellblade 2 is not on there.
Really?
The big Microsoft game for the summer is not on there. Starfield is not on there. Still Wakes
Really?
Still Wakes Deep, which was a horror game that came out like last month, I believe. The Case of the Golden Idol, not on there. Valorant
You
is
know
not
what's
on
not
there.
also going to be there?
Hmm.
Call of Duty.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 is not on there.
And the next Call of Duty coming up is not going to
Yes.
be on there.
But like that made sense because we knew that day and date games were not coming to Game Pass Standard. But it's
Right.
interesting to see that that was apparently retroactive.
Mm-hmm.
And it was retroactive for like the past year.
More than a year, because Starfield was what, a year and a half ago?
No, Starfield was just last year.
Was it? God, did it just feel that long ago?
Yeah, I think Starfield was last summer.
Was it really last summer? I guess so.
Yeah, but when someone from Kotaku asked
Yeah,
Microsoft,
it was because I was working at Lighthouse, and that was last summer because I could afford the the extreme collector's edition with the watch, which was the best thing about Starfield was the watch. Thank God I bought that collector's edition, which makes me feel better about the fact that I spent all that money on 2 Column 2 versions of the Veilguard collector edition.
oh, that's right. Okay, okay, we'll go back to that. I forgot what I was saying about this. Oh yeah, Kotaku asked Microsoft like when would these games come out, and their response was like the same general. Was it new day one games available with Game Pass Ultimate or PC Game Pass will not be immediately available with Game Pass Standard and may be added to the library at a future date. This could be up to 12 months or more and will vary
Or
by
more.
So
Or more.
basically the answer is fuck off.
Fuck off, right? We don't care about you.
Yeah.
If you wanna talk to the king, you gotta pay the price, and the price
Which
is Game Pass Ultimate.
Yeah, which is like that really kind of sucks. Like you're getting a lesser version of Game Pass, but like with no real clear indication of
How much does Game Pass Standard
when these
cost?
things are coming out.
So you're gonna pay for money for essentially nothing.
I
They're
mean, you're
gonna
still
make
getting
they've devalued Standard to the point of, like, why buy
yes,
it?
and I think that's kind of their point.
Yeah.
I believe Standard is 15 a month and Ultimate is 25.
That sucks. That's a lot
Um,
of money. 25, that's $300 a year.
oh yeah, that's an insane amount.
Yeah. Well,
I can't find Game Pass levels. Let's go to Xbox. Actually, no, wait. Let's not go to Xbox. Let's see what Google. Oh, Google. Hey, your Gemini is not summarizing the internet.
Xbox Game Pass prices. All right. So let's see.
Okay. Yeah, Game Pass Core, which is like basically just here's 25 games and online multiplayer, is $10 a month.
Uh-huh.
Game Pass Standard, which is, hey, you get Game Pass, but some games you don't, and you really have no idea what's available and what's not, is $15. And motherfucking Gemini doesn't tell me what Ultimate costs.
Let's see. Game
God
Pass Ultimate is
damn,
$20 a month. Game Pass
okay,
Standard is
20.
$15 a month. Game Pass PC is $12 a month, and Game Pass Core is 10. So Game Pass Core has only online multiplayer. That's all it is.
No, it does have a small library of games,
And a small library of games.
but it's like 20 games.
Right. Game Pass PC has everything for $12 a month.
Yes. Yeah.
Game Pass Standard does not have day one or PC games. It does have online multiplayer and I guess more games in the library, but I don't see any definable difference between Game Pass Core and Game Pass Standard.
I don't know what games they are, but I know Game Pass Core is like here's 20 games. It's really meant as like a kind of starter pack.
Right. Game Pass
Um
Standard is more fleshed out, but with minus the day and dates.
yeah. Minus
And then
day
Game
and
Pass
dates
Ultimate is
going
everything.
back to the past year.
Yeah. And it also has cloud gaming versus the Xbox Cloud Gaming
Oh
Select Game
yeah.
GeForce Now Ultimate. So yeah, Game Pass Ultimate does have this cloud gaming thing, which is kind of nice. It is a nice thing to have. But yeah, that's the only way that you can get day and date for Xbox is with the Xbox Ultimate, and that's $20 a month.
Yep.
Yeah, and which means that Game Pass Standard is kind of pointless. If you're going to get Game Pass Standard, you might as well get Game Pass Core. Save yourself $5, and then use that money to use that $60 to buy whatever game you were probably going to buy anyway, day and date. Yeah, it's not good, but I don't know. This is a gamble. This is a very big gamble on Phil Spencer's part. This is if this gamble doesn't pay off, it might be the end of Xbox. They have not Microsoft,
It's
but Xbox. They have a lot
I
invested
don't
in these decisions that he is making.
yeah, it's
I mean, if
tough
you think about
because
everything with the game, like the whole Game Pass concept, that was expensive to start off with.
oh yeah.
But, because they spend a lot of money, not just in the technology, but in the incentives that they have had to pay to developers to get them to release on Game Pass up to this point, which will only have to be bigger
Well,
in the future.
and I think
So they've already put a
what's
lot of money into that. And then you put on top of it the Activision Blizzard deal and the Bethesda deal, which would not happen were there not Game Pass. That's the reason why they made those deals. That's a lot of money that they have put all in this Game Pass bucket. And if this doesn't turn, if this doesn't work and work really well, almost to the point of ludicrously well, this could be the end, or at least severely debilitate the Xbox game division. Heads will roll, possibly divisions.
I think Xbox is kind of running into the same issue that all of Hollywood did last year, which is streaming services aren't actually as profitable as you think.
Yeah.
Netflix gets away with it because Netflix has a scale that
Right.
no one else can
No one
match.
else can or ever will match because they took literal decades
Yeah.
to get to that
They
scale.
have a decade head start on everyone else.
Exactly.
But that means everyone else is just dropping money into a void to create content. You
Mhm.
need content to, flesh out these services, but you also need money to keep it going. And what
Mhm.
my Xbox is running into is that they need that content. They need to pump out new things for Game Pass over and over and over again. But what they're running into is like what NBC ran into, is that we put all this stuff on Peacock. No one's signing up for Peacock. And the
Mhm.
Game Pass is kind of plateaued at like about the same subscription level has Peacock. And it's like, well, that's not really sustainable. And that's why a lot of stuff that was on Peacock is now on Netflix.
Mhm.
um because like, well, we created this service, we're going to keep it going, but we're going to put our content out for as many places as we can in order to get more money. That's also what Xbox is doing. They're going to put it out on Xbox, but they're also going to put it out on PlayStation, because turns out keeping content exclusive doesn't help your subscription service, your fledgling subscription service.
Right.
But I do think that they are kind of hedging their bets, and they're kind of prepared for that, because they've been like backing out of the console war a whole
Mhm.
bunch. I
Mhm.
think they are positioning themselves to become a publisher rather than a I don't know, hardware
Developer.
manufacturer,
Yeah.
right?
Or yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I think they will still put out boxes. They've even said that there's another Xbox coming,
Mhm.
but I think that they are trying to transition Xbox into being a third-party publisher first and foremost. They want to be the new Activision.
Mhm. Hmm.
Yeah, and it's a weird situation to see like one of the big 3 hardware manufacturers leave that space. Right? This is kind of what happened to Sega.
Yep.
Is like, oh, it
Yep.
was Sega and Nintendo for so long.
Forever.
And then Sega's like, we can't do this anymore. We're
Yeah.
out.
Nope, we're out. And then it was just Nintendo for like a hot second until Sony said,
Yeah.
"Hey,
And
hold my beer."
I remember way back, it was like Sony was going to team up with Nintendo to do a console, and then Nintendo backed out. And so Sony said, well, we're going to put out our own. And
Yep.
the rest was history.
Then the rest is history. All right, so moving on, because we're now going on to 3 hours.
Yeah. I've got a couple of
Technically
smaller
2
stories.
hours. Let's see, what else do I have?
A couple small stories that I don't think I actually
I
created
have
banners for.
one. Let's see, we talked about Annapurna. We talked about
Oh yeah,
Nintendo.
I talked about all the stuff I got.
Yeah, okay, got one more. So, let me pull this up over here, right here. And it is officially, I have to remind myself what it was. Okay, yes. Oh, God of War. God of War on PC finally out. Finally out and being review bombed by 4 reasons that are very, very familiar. It's because it requires a PlayStation account. I said PS5 account. It's actually just a PlayStation account. So yeah, it's out on Steam finally after way too long. It is launching to mixed reviews, and it is mostly because of that PSN requirement. So yeah, PC players, it's pretty obvious they freaking hate the idea that they have to have a PlayStation Network account in order to play a Sony PC game. But it it is right now just getting just horribly review bombed. Helldivers 2 got the same treatment when, because originally it was released and they didn't have a PSN requirement, because why was it? It was some technical issue. Do you remember why they didn't require it in the first place?
Um,
I think it was a technical thing.
no, I think they didn't require it at first. It was always meant to be there,
Mhm.
but the game launched in like kind of such a they had so many server issues that they removed the requirement and were like, "Hey, we're gonna take this out just to like get more
Yeah.
players in,"
Yeah,
and
I
then
think,
more players came in,
and
and
then a
then they're
ton
like,
of players came in and they're like, "This is the greatest game ever."
and
And
then
then
Sony was like, "We're
oh
gonna
crap.
add the requirement back, and people
Mhm.
kind of rebelled
And
against that.
right, and that was when Helldivers 2 started to get bombed, and it was heavily review bombed after they turned back on the PSN requirement,
Yes.
which there were 2 reasons why it was offensive to them. Obviously, why should I have a PlayStation Network account when it's a PC game? I'm playing it on a PC. I shouldn't require a PSN
Eh,
account.
I
Number
still
1.
think it
And
was
number 2
overblown.
is it's clearly a switch you can turn off and on. It is you can't argue like, "Oh, well, that's how the game was designed and it's intrinsic and blah de blah." It was clearly like a switch that you could turn off and on. Should we require does a PSN account required toggle on, toggle off? And that, I think, was that kind of realization moment of they could turn this off just as easily as they could turn it on, and that's when um, the retaliation began. And the PSN argument makes sense if you're considering things like cross-platform play or cross-platform saves. But when you're talking about a single player, and like for example, Helldivers. Helldivers is cross-platform. So I sort of understand that. But when it comes to things that are a single player game, um, like God of War, it makes a whole lot less sense to have that. Um, I think I understand why the PlayStation why it's getting review bombed. I actually understand that far more than what Helldivers was. Like I understood Helldivers that they were angry because it was taken away from them or forced back onto them after it wasn't. That was one thing. But this, I truly don't understand why PlayStation is requiring it. Now, I don't have not heard that the PlayStation might even be or Sony might even be considering getting rid of this PlayStation requirement for God of War. It probably won't
No.
because they will never set that precedent.
They kept it for Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah. And Ghost of Tsushima is another good example of like unless there was cross-platform saves, which
Yeah.
I don't.
Although I do believe that the uh the director, the developer, said that if you just play the single player, you don't actually need the PSN account. But if
Mhm.
you play the multiplayer of
Yeah.
Tsushima, then you
Okay.
need the PSN
By the way,
account.
the multiplayer of Tsushima is awesome. I remember we played the
It was
crap
great.
out of that.
Yeah.
And then they added that whole new that whole new like area of it, that whole like
Yeah, there was like a whole
co-op
DLC
play.
expansion of
Yeah,
it.
the deal right, but there was a co-op portion that they added just as we
Oh
stopped
yeah.
playing.
Yeah.
Because before it was like competitive co-op, and now that it became like 2-player co-op instead of 4-player
Oh yeah,
dog
they added the whole
fights.
two-player mode.
Right, which was really cool, but that happened right as we were stopping playing it. That was a fun that co-op was
That you know what?
so
That may have
fun.
been Ghost of Tsushima
Mhm,
may have been the last big budget game that
mhm.
just has a multiplayer mode.
Yeah,
That wasn't like, here's a multiplayer game meant to be monetized into a live service thing forever.
yeah.
This is just a game with a multiplayer
Multiplayer where
mode.
you can just play with your
It's just
friends, have
but
fun.
I remember The Last of Us. I think The Last of Us 1 had a multiplayer mode that
Mhm.
was surprisingly good. And then Naughty Dog spent the last 5 years trying to turn that into a live service game and then deciding, nah.
No.
But, like,
I
they
think I
they
think
could
they're
have just
understanding that
they
live
could have
service needs to
just
go away.
but, like, Last of Us Part 2, it could have just had a multiplayer mode.
Mhm.
Just a simple, basic multiplayer mode like the aughts did. It doesn't need to be a live service continuation into oblivion. It
Yeah,
could just be, "Here's a multiplayer mode."
yeah. There's a part of me that is hoping that Dragon Age does have a multiplayer mode. I did enjoy previous multiplayer modes in Dragon Age. Um,
I don't
even
think it
though
does, just
some
because
of
we
them were
haven't
kinda
heard anything
sucky,
about
I
it.
did enjoy them.
Mm.
I would really, really like them to create a good, solid play with your friends mode and not consider it live service, but I don't trust them anymore. I just don't.
Um,
And the
I will
last
say,
the Ghost of Tsushima was the last multiplayer mode on a regular game, like a game, standalone a game that had a multiplayer mode that I truly enjoyed. And I
Mhm.
think that it is better, but it is right up there with my favorite multiplayer, like, add-on to a regular game, which was Mass Effect. The
I remember
Vorcha
you were
run
a Mass Effect freak.
the
You
Vorcha runs were so fun. Fuck, I loved the Vorcha runs because you could play it as a regular character and, like, get serious, and then if you had your Vorcha character leveled up to a certain level and kitted out the right way, it would just be, like, 3 of like 2 Vorches, 2 people together getting into just a random group with Vorches, and we would just be like, "Let's go, let's roll." It was just pandemonium everywhere. It was just fantastic. It was such crazy good fun. And it was just so fucking dominant wherever you'd go. And other people would get into your group and it's like, I hate you people. I mean, you're winning, thanks. It's great, but fuck, your guys are we can't kill anything because you're killing everything. And it's like, don't worry about it. Get in my slipstream. We'll be fine.
yeah.
So much
Uh,
fun.
you reminded me that there's been a lot of news about the Veil Guard that has
A
come
lot of
out in the past several weeks. A lot of previews,
yeah.
and a lot of them have been really good.
Yeah, they're saying it's not bad. I'm
Every piece of like
cautiously
playable
optimistic.
preview thing that has come out about that game has only said it's only gotten better and better and better.
Mhm. I'm
So I
cautiously, very cautiously optimistic that this is not going to if ever if ever they were gonna put out a really good game, this might be the one,
yeah,
because
yeah.
our expectations at this point are so low for this game to the point of they made a almost I want to wonder if it was intentionally bad preview to the point of where we all looked at it and went,
Mm,
fuck no," when it looked like
I've
it was a hero shooter and we're like, "What the fuck is this?"
oh, what
And
was it? I think it was Remap was talking with I forget where I heard it.
Mhm.
Somewhere someone was saying that yeah, all the people internally at BioWare were like, "Oh, fucking marketing team. God damn it." They
Yeah,
also hated that
yeah,
video.
and there's a part of me that is like, this may have actually worked for them kind of in a backward way, is that everything that came out about this game for the last 7 to 8 years, because 'cause it's been that long, has been nothing but something that has made us go, "Oh god. Oh god, this is gonna be awful. Oh, this is gonna be awful." And it's been increasingly like the coup de grace was that trailer where it's like, "Oh my god, it is going to be awful." And now, like, we're starting to hear really good things, and now people are starting to get their hopes up. Our expectations at this point are so low that they'd have to really screw up to not, like, come in at above what our expectations are. But
Yeah.
I am
It's
very, very cautiously optimistic. I mean, eh, I would say I'm optimistically cautious, let's just say. That's not even cautiously optimistic. I am optimistically cautious. There is way more caution in it. I don't trust it. I don't trust it. I don't believe it. I will believe it when it's delivered to me, when I actually have to buy it because I bought um, the collector's edition that doesn't actually have a copy of the game.
oh, that's
2 of
right.
'em.
You got
2
the
of 'em.
bonus.
I got 2 of 'em. I didn't mean to order 2 of them because you're not supposed to be able to order 2 of them, but I got 2 of them.
How'd you get 2 of them then?
Because I was at long story, I was at work, so I was on my work computer and my profile was my work email, and I went on and ordered it. And then I realized, "Oh, shit, I hadn't signed into my actual BioWare account." So then I ordered and I couldn't cancel the one that I had. So then I went into my BioWare account and bought it again under my BioWare account. And then, of course, I went back to try to cancel the first one because it was a collector's edition. I didn't know if it was going to sell out or not. I wasn't going to cancel first and then buy. So I bought a second one, hoping to cancel the first one. You can't cancel the first one. So I'm getting 2.
Okay, well, if
Which
it
means I
turns
can
out to
open
be,
one and sell the other, maybe.
if it turns out to be as good as it's like
It might
as it should be, then you might be able to really sell that. And
I might actually be able to sell it or, I'll hold on to it for depending on how popular the game is. If it looks like it's, like epic, like Mass Effect epic, I may actually hold on to it.
a sealed bonus copy.
Yeah. Yep.
Hmm.
So, what's your last items? Because we're getting now to 5:00. And I gotta go make
Just
dinner.
that
Now that I made breakfast, I came to the show, now I have to go home and make dinner. So pick it up. Moving along.
On the subject
show.
of Netflix adaptations, Cyberpunk Edge Runners is getting I don't know if it's getting a sequel. Basically, there's like a new anime coming from Cyberpunk. I don't know if it's a Edge Runner sequel, or if it's a spin-off of that show, but it is Edge Runners apparently did well enough for
Edge
both
Runners was really good.
Netflix and CD Projekt Red that they're both like, we should do more of this.
Yeah.
So you've got a new
we gotta
Cyberpunk.
make back some of that money we lost with 2077.
Yeah. Oh, that game has already made its money back at this point.
I don't know about
think.
that. I don't know.
And then in other that sucks for Xbox news, the Silent Hill 2 remake has
Mhm.
been confirmed to be PS5 exclusive for a year.
Really?
Yes. There was a new trailer that came out, and the trailer basically only had a PS5 logo. And apparently, and this maybe I'll have to get this fucking game. I don't like any of the developers' previous games,
Mhm.
but there's a new trailer that touted all of the look at how we're using the PS5, which includes the fucking haptic feedback.
Haptics! We love haptics.
So we'll have to see if it actually is worth it. But
I
as a
at one
result of
point
that,
owned
it's exclusive.
highdefrumble.com.
What?
highdefrumble.com.
What is that?
That was a quote that they had about haptics before haptics became haptics, as they called it high def rumble.
Oh yeah, Nintendo was talking about that a lot.
Right. And I, as soon as I heard that, walked over and secured highdefrumble.com.
That
I let it go, but yeah.
I'm impressed nobody has bought that.
I mean, I did, and then I owned it, and I'm like, let it go. That was fun.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, you were saying.
Yeah, that's it. It's gonna be exclusive. Because this news kind of comes from a trailer, it's not clear if this is like a paid exclusive that Sony
Right.
did, or if this is a matter of like, well, we can't make it. We're having issues, creating it for the Series S, so we're gonna hold off on that.
Yeah.
It's not clear if it's a technical issue or a financial deal, but either way, exclusive to PlayStation for a year.
Cool. All right. So, anything else before we end this stream, sir?
I believe that's everything.
Okay. Yeah, I got nothing. Next week I'm not terribly busy, but also not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow, I believe, is I have the day off, Columbus Day.
Hmm.
So I don't know if you have a Columbus Day off.
I probably don't.
Okay. Because we were talking about possibly going to a trivia night. So
Yeah, Monday night trivia night.
Monday night trivia night. At
I
the
mean,
very least,
even if I
I
don't
am
have the day
I
off,
am
I
sitting. I mean, I'm going to turn this around. Please ignore all of the cords and crap. But I'm at the dining room table of the boys' house, and you see that box right there? You know what that is?
what?
That is a mysterious box that I brought over
Oh,
and have been waiting for quite some time to do.
also, Jesus Christ,
So you
that
could come
house.
over, huh?
Jesus Christ, that house is fucking huge. That's like, oh my god, the spaciousness of that foyer.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So I was thinking that maybe you might want to come over. I would love. We'll see. We'll see if he'll be okay with that. But I'm like, hey, why don't we have Nick and Rachel come over? I'll like make dinners and snacks or whatever. We can barbecue or something, and do this box. And like Claire has been like, are we going to do this? So I'm gonna be like, yeah, we could do this.
Wait, I think, hang on, yeah, okay. This is just a completely random aside of like how like my brain is broken with video games. Everything in the world gets filtered through the lens of video games.
Yeah.
There's this really fucking awesome JRPG that got a trailer like during the Tokyo Game Show or something, called Expedition 33.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks really cool. The trailer that it has is like, it just looks stylish. It's an interesting dark premise, but the full title of the game is Claire Obscura Expedition 33. And so every single time you say that name,
Claire Obscura.
I think of that game.
I may have to pick up that game and play it. Claire
It's
Obscura.
it's spelled Clair.
Claire Obscura Expedition 33. Okay. I'm gonna have to look at that.
It looks really. I'm genuinely excited for it.
Felt
It
somebody
looks really
suggested
cool.
the name of it says felt like Elden Ring and Near Automata with turn-based combat.
Yeah, I think that kind of fits the
That's
vibes
kinda
of it.
cool.
But yeah, every time you say that name, my brain immediately fills in Obscura.
We may just have to call her Claire Obscura instead of
Oh,
the girl
oh,
child.
AC Wraith corrects me. It's Obscura, not
Oh, it's
Obscura.
Obscure. Claire Obscura. I like Claire Obscura.
Claire Obscura. And
Like
I have no idea what that means in terms of the game.
Claire Obscure means clear obscured. Seen unseen. Can see, cannot see. Or clear and shrouded.
Okay.
Obscured means, obscures a
Very,
word.
very interesting.
Claire, clarity.
And Obscura, yeah. That kind of fits with the vibes of the trailer, which is like we're kind of like a high-minded but kind of weird and dark type of story. So that fits.
Yep. So,
Anyways,
anyway, we might want to do that. Let's close out this show and
yes.
and then I can actually go start cooking dinner. Fuck my life. I have to do
You have to cook for people.
I have to cook for people and I have to fold laundry that is not my own.
Hey, I was doing that last night while watching The Glory.
I'm asking people have they brought their PE clothes home so I can wash them. Did they do their homework? I've actually said that this morning. Did you bring your homework home because you're going over to your friend's house to study? What tests do you have this week? Anyway, it is pretty funny. So
Yeah.
let's close out this show.
Okay.
All right, closing out. Here it is. Thank you for listening to GameHounds. You have been listening to GameHounds episode 728. We recorded this on Sunday, September 22nd, 2024. I've been Ethan Sellers. With me is Nick Nicola. Please get a hold of us. GameHounds.net is our website. GameHounds@gmail.com is our email. We record the show live every Sunday. Almost every Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on Spreaker, on YouTube, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. On Twitch, we are the GameHounds. On YouTube, we are GameHounds Vids, VIDS, as in video. And on Facebook, we are facebook.com/GameHounds. Please feel free to join us next week if you are listening to this after the fact. Join us live. Thank you to everyone in the live chat. Of course, as usual, thank you very, very, very much to AC Wraith. Truly appreciate you every single week. You are very much the wind beneath our wings. You are the best of us. So thanks. Also to everybody, Pissed was in here, I believe, a couple of other people. Thank you so much for being here. We will talk to you next week. Nick, you're going to be around, right?
Yeah.
All right. Nick, you're going to be around. In the meantime, join our Discord. We are on Discord. The link for the Discord channel, thank you, because God, AC Wraith is good. There's the link to the Discord channel. Feel free to join us. I'm in there actually now all the time. So anytime anybody posts something, especially if you're talking shit about me, I see it instantly. So yeah. No watch party this week as far as I know. I'm not going to be playing any games tonight, but maybe sometime later this week, I will post it in the Discord when I do. Others agree my farts make people flap.
What?
You mean clap? Clap. I hope they don't make them flap, because that would be weird. Have a good week, everyone. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Oh, like flap? Like.
Oh, maybe. See ya. Bye.